Brian, I'm faced with a slightly different interface today. I don't have any access to turning my camera on or controlling my volume or anything else.
Okay. Everyone is here for the Gerdwood Board of Supervisors.
Mike, I'm showing the same thing. This is Guy. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
Yeah, that means I can't see if anyone has a hand up or I'm not faced with the normal information I normally see. Is this set up any differently, Kyle, to normal?
No, I'm having the same thing across my network. I cannot see why that toolbar, even I'm the meeting host, and I cannot get that toolbar to come up. It's the first time we did.
This is Shelley, and I had to go into the browser and I got it. It's probably a Microsoft issue, but the browser works if anybody wants to jump over there.
Oh,
I'm on the browser. This is Brianna, and I can see that normal bar I think you're talking about.
Exactly.
okay.
Let me do the same thing. I'll jump onto the browser version. Back in a second.
You know, it couldn't go as planned for Gerdwood. We have to have a little fun.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you might have your other computer on. So you have to mute.
Let's try that again. It's not my side, I think.
Okay, let's try that again. Something.
Sometimes it's nice to get positive feedback and sometimes it isn't. Okay, sorry about the technical issues today. Right, let's try that again. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I'll chair tonight. Brianna, is that okay?
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. First, apologies for the technical issues. We'll work through them. Let's start. So it's a GBOS regular meeting on November the 15th. The Gerdwood Board of Supervisors, its committees and subcommittees are subject to the Alaska Open Meetings Act as found in Alaska Statute 44.62.310 and Anchorage Municipal Code 1.25 public meetings. The Gerdwood Board of Supervisors operates under the Gerdwood Public Meeting Standards of Conduct. We'll now call to order at 7:08. Do a roll call, and then we'll go into any disclosures. So my name is Mike Edgington. I'm co-chair of Gerdwood Board of Supervisors and the Land Use Supervisor. Brianna?
Brianna Sullivan, Parks and Recreation and Cemetery Supervisor and co-chair.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Jennifer Wingard, Public Safety Supervisor.
Thank you. Guy?
Guy Wade, Fire Department Supervisor.
Thank you. And Amanda?
Amanda Sassy, Road Supervisor.
Thank you. So we appear to have a quorum for 5 of us. Anybody have any disclosures?
I have a disclosure, Mike. It's Amanda.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to be presenting on, oh shoot, I don't know what item number it is, but the Imagine Gerdwood request for support, number 13. And I'm the vice chair of the Imagine Gerdwood committee.
Okay. So let's see, that's a weird situation because I think everyone in the community is a member of that in theory.
Right. But I'm in the executive board, so maybe that makes it more special. I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm obviously in the same position, so I'm going to make the same disclosure and refer it to Brianna. Can you take over for a minute just to make a ruling on this?
Yes. And then what item number is that on the agenda you said?
Item number 13 for Imagine Gerdwood. We're both Amanda and I are on the executive committee, so the membership is open to everyone in the community.
Right. Okay. Well, my ruling is that it's under new business, so we will hear the presentation and we won't have to make any decisions on it tonight. So don't rule that as a huge conflict tonight.
Thank you. Okay, any other disclosures?
This is Brianna. I have for number 8, the grant presentations and awards. I think all of us have some kind of connection with almost every group that's applied for the grants, but I was a board member of Four Valleys and coached and taught for Four Valleys Community School.
Okay, I would again rule that that's not you're not a current member of the board, and it's common to be a supporter of Four Valleys in this community. So there's nothing that would require a recusal from that item.
Mike?
Guy?
Yeah, this is a Guy. I just have a family member that works for Four Valleys Community School.
Okay. Again, we don't have any item tonight, which I think your no decision tonight will probably affect it. We're flat funding Four Valleys. So again, I think we can consider that definitely a potential conflict, but not something that rises to the level of being substantial enough for recusal. Jennifer.
I brought this up before, and just in the interest of full disclosure, I'll just mention I'm not currently working with any of these organizations, but everybody we're discussing, I've either had involvement through my kids or volunteered for in the past or donated to. So yeah, every single one of them I've got some connection to.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. And again, I would rule that it's pretty standard position within members of the community to have fairly heavy engagement with one or more of the non-profits we're discussing this evening. So I don't think that rises to a substantial conflict which will require recusal. And so we're going to go through the whole process again. I'll hand over to Brianna because I have also something to declare on item 8.
Okay. This is Brianna, go ahead.
On item 8, again, I've been a supporter of a number of these non-profits, and I was previously a coach on for Fort Valley's community school as well.
Thank you for the disclosure. For the same reasons you've stated, we will, I rule that that is not conflict for tonight.
Okay, thank you. So now we've got through roll calls and everybody's disclosures, we'll jump into agenda revision and approval. First of all, do you hear a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Also move.
This is Brianna, I'll
Thanks.
second.
Thanks, Jennifer and Brianna. We'll take this as a assent vote. Any all those in favour say aye.
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 Anyone against? Okay, we'll move on to that passes unanimously. We'll move on to meeting minutes approval for the October the 18th regular meeting. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved, this is Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? I don't hear any dissent, so we'll consider that passed unanimously. October the 19th, the Girdwood Valley Service Area Non-Profit Grant Work Session minutes approval. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved, this is Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna. In a second.
Seconded with Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Again, all those in favour?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, now on to October the 25th, the Municipality of Anchorage and Gbos quarterly meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I approve, this is Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna. And a second.
I'll second, since I'm on a roll.
Thanks, Jennifer. Again, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? We've had a very busy month. And lastly, on November the 10th, GBOS special meeting minutes approval. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thanks, Amanda. And a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Guy. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, another unanimous approval. Thank you. Now announcements. The public is encouraged to ask questions and provide comment. Please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. To help discussions stay productive, please direct your comments to the board rather than other members of the public, and keep your comments focused on the business under discussion. Please be respectful of everyone's opinions. GBOS committees, Trails, Land Use, Public Safety and Cemetery will hold officer elections at their first regular meeting in the new year in January. Elections for GBOS seat C will be on the ballot in April. The filing period is January the 14th to January the 31st. We'll now move into introductions, presentations and reports. First of all, legislative report from our senator and representative at the state level, assembly members or a school board member. I did see at least Kelly from school board here. Would you like to start?
Hi, guys. I would love to. Thank you for that courtesy. Can you all hear me okay?
I can hear you, definitely.
Perfect. Great. Well, let's see. I've got my notes for November, and Veterans Day has come and gone. So thank you to any veterans who are here amongst us. I appreciate your service. We do have Thanksgiving coming up on the 25th and 26th. So I will wish you all well. No school for your children those days. The biggest news coming from the school board is that we will be undertaking a search for a new superintendent. Dr. Bishop made her resignation public, about a week ago. And the board hasn't yet, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we have not yet met on this, but generally I will expect the hiring process to span about 4 to 5 months. I expect to have opportunities for community input, and I don't have any further details at this time, but that's certainly our most important job, is to hire a new superintendent for the district, and we take that very seriously. Unfortunately, we have continued staffing shortages when it comes to bus. I don't think that Gerdwood is affected by the bus closures, but there is a link I will drop it in the chat. There's a web page that details the bus closures going through November, December, and then into early January for rounds 5 and 6, which have been added. COVID testing started at all schools on or around November 1st, and it is taken through the school nurses, who are working very hard. The results come back very quickly, within 24 hours, and the goal is to get our kiddos back to school. And consent is, of course, required. ASD is offering free COVID vaccination clinics. I just saw a report that we've done something like 2,000 pediatric vaccines in the past couple of weeks since they've become available. Upcoming vaccination clinics, I will drop another link. There will be at the Ed Center on Northern Lights. So if you guys are up in town, November 22nd and 23rd, as well as the 29th, 30th, and then December 1st. And we've got a drive-through at Betty Davis East High School this coming weekend on Saturday. I'm also happy to drop a link to the ESSER 3 update that the board received at our last board meeting. It's a PDF file kind of showing the state of things. Tomorrow actually is our next board meeting, and the board will be formally accepting those funds. We had to wait for them to kind of pass through deed. We couldn't just get them from the federal government. So a little bit of a waiting period, but we will be putting them to good work. So yes, tomorrow is our next meeting, and we will be looking at the bond. We will be looking at those federal funds and a lot of other issues. And then we have another meeting on December 6th. And with that, I'll see if I can see any questions. Oh, and you guys already have my notes. I didn't even see that. That's so convenient. Great. Any questions? I can't see any hands or many faces, but oh, Jennifer Wingard, I see you. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I see Jen and Guy.
Oh, and Guy.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, great. I just was wondering if you could offer any insights at all about the events at West today.
The events at West today. So I have really only heard through the grapevine. I've heard that there was an incident in the cafeteria, that it involved sort of outside kids coming from other schools, from East, from Benny Benson. There was a family situation. I think it got out of control. I've heard that they went into lockdown and that there will be supports available moving forward. And that's about all that I know. I have not been, we've been given a 30,000 foot level understanding, and that's about it. But I certainly appreciate the work of all of the SROs at West and the staff, who I understand did an admirable job of keeping everybody safe for the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Guy, question?
Yeah, hi, Kelly. Could you remind me, Dr. Bishop will she finish throughout the year, or is she leaving right away? And if so, who fills in her?
That's a great question. She will be continuing the duration of her contract, which goes through the end of June. So she let the board know she was not interested in a contract renewal. I learned recently that school boards in the state of Alaska are only allowed to offer superintendents up to a 3-year contract. And so there's this constant cycle of, get a 3-year contract is a really great one. A 1-year contract extension is sort of so maybe not so confident. But there's not really much of an option for boards to extend. We don't give out 5-year contracts, for example, unless there's legal changes. But we will be casting a wide net, I presume, looking internally, looking externally. And I hope that whoever the new superintendent, whoever we hire, I hope that they are full of all sorts of wonderful ideas and energy. And I really hope that we get a lot of great community input along the way. But yes, there's no golden parachute. Somebody asked about that at another community council. She'll simply be finishing out her contract.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else? No. Okay, well, thank you all for your time. I hope that all of you guys are safe, and I will see you in a month. Feel free to reach out in the meantime if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Do we have, I think I see, is it Matthew Harvey? You, Representative
Yes.
Kaufman's?
Yes.
Thanks. Please go ahead.
There we go. I think I'm unmuted now. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now, Matthew. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name is Matthew Harvey. I'm staff to Representative Kaufman, who, especially this meeting, he wanted to be here, but he's out of town at an insurance conference. Actually, a few of the topics are kind of related to this in that kind of seeing how other areas, so he's down in Arizona. It's a national conference of insurance legislators. And a few of the topics I know are how to use tools available, such as like the AML JIA is an example, and other things similar to that. And then earthquake insurance is another big one there. But recently, I guess outside of that, we've been really focused on trying to organize our capital project requests, because January is when we go back to Juneau, January 16th, I believe. It's right around there, middle of January. So we're trying to organize our capital projects requests related to this as well, and our personal legislation stuff, and that we also have one that I think we worked with Mike and Brianna on regarding the economic development incentives and negotiation of those things at a I guess GBOS level is a personal legislation thing that we've been working on. So those are kind of a few of our priorities now, but I kind of wanted to listen in to hear where you guys are at with the flooding situation and those sorts of things, and just kind of be here to answer any questions that you guys might have. Sorry, I was a little late today. The Alaska Municipal League is having their local government conference also today, so I was over there, and that's also great because we get to kind of hear from how other locales are managed through, I guess, situations, flooding situations and certain things that can be kind of similar to this. So I'm here for any state level questions. And I guess I should also say one of the reasons we want to be really focused on organizing our capital projects and getting a really well prioritized list and well scoped out list of those capital projects is the federal infrastructure bill got signed into law today. And there will be a bunch of that money coming into Alaska. So I kind of need to, I haven't really totally read up on all the specifics to that, but that is something that is coming now that we know of. And I have meetings this week in order to get some of the more detailed information about that, see how it can be applied, to our areas here. So if you have any questions, I'll be here, absolutely. And also we have, I'm not sure if I can put any information in the chat, but the email is rep.james.kaufman@akledge.gov. And then I can also, if you have, our number is 907-465-4949. So we'll also be available then.
Thank you. Actually, I do have one quick question about the federal funding that's coming through. So is that the money will be applied at the state level, and then is there any formulas or other things that are already set up, or is it is that to be determined?
I think I need to get a little more specific information on that. But once I get that, I'll send it again an email to you, and that way at least we'll have it a little more specific on paper, and to see how that will be distributed at the state level, kind of how it would flow through to the community level. But sorry, I don't really have specifics on that yet.
That's okay. I know it's early. If it was signed today, we don't have that much. We don't have that much lead time. Okay, any other questions from the board? I'm not seeing any hands or any other questions from the community.
I can also mention one other thing really quick if there's
Please go ahead.
The redistricting board, I should mention this, the redistricting board did approve a redistricting proclamation, which is kind of the final from the redistricting board. Kind of expect, as with most redistricting processes, there will be some legal issues or challenges, at least. I shouldn't say issues, at least legal challenges with it, and not really sure when or how that will play out, but on, I believe it's akredistrict.org. I should double check on that URL, but there's a map gallery there, and they have a good final maps there and all of that stuff. So it will be changing next year, I believe next year, depending on how the legal challenges go. But that's also, I believe, last week or the week before they signed that final proclamation.
Yeah, actually, to add one thing to that. So I believe as it's currently set out, Representative Kaufman currently lives in a district which will not represent Gerdwood. But that won't be until the next election. So he's still our representative at least until November, well, until the end of 2022, I believe.
Yes, 100% of our state time will still be spent on this district that we're currently in. But
that's good to hear. Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Okay. Are there any other representatives or from Assembly or the state? Okay. If anyone joins and we notice, we will go back and give people the opportunity. In the meantime, we will move on to item number 2, Supervisor Reports. I do not have any report we're not covering later. Brianna?
I do not have anything to report outside of the minutes from the Trails Committee meeting. There will be a special meeting tomorrow, actually, for the Girdwood Trails Committee at 7 p.m. The link's available on the Gbos website.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, do you have anything?
I don't have anything that's not going to be covered tonight, but I do want to say really thank you so much to the Western crew. They went straight from roads repair to roads plowing, and they're awesome, and we really, really appreciate them.
Thank you. I think that's probably reflected in all of us. Thank you, Amanda. Jennifer, do you have anything?
I just want to really quickly draw people's attention to the Public Safety Committee is working on the Gerdwood's portion of the alcohol tax and funds to go to mental health and emotional support things for the community of Gerdwood, and it's worth keeping an eye on because the mayor's current budget in moving all of the crisis teams to the police department kind of accidentally cuts out Gerdwood. Right? I'm assuming it's accidental. So anyway, it's worth the community keeping an eye on the budget discussions that are happening right now with the assembly.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Guy, do you have any report?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Nothing that won't be discussed later, but like Amanda, I'd just like to say thanks to the fire department for helping during the flood and the incident command and channeling information up and down the chain of command and being on site and providing that extra bit of safety during our flood. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So we now move on to the service provider report. So for people who come to GBOS meetings all the time, we've just rearranged this a little bit. So we cover supervisors first and then service provision second. So service provider reports, first of all, fire, Chief Weston.
Hi there. October is usually traditionally our quietest month. We had 20 calls. It's kind of a smorgasbord of calls when I look at what we went on. ranging from difficulty breathing to gas leaks, psychiatric problems, responding to assaults, things like that. And then so far in the first 15 days of November, we've had 13 calls. So we've been very busy. On October also, we did have an area command activation for the flood event, that 1,000-year-old flood. We had an activation for that for a couple days. And then we've got 8 new members starting in December. I'm super happy about that. And 2 of those people are from Gerdwood, so that's even better. I wish there was more Gerdwood people, but 2 of the people are from Gerdwood, and then we've potentially got 2 more people from Gerdwood starting in spring when we have our next intake of new members, which will be in April. We have a few people and finishing up their EMT3. Which is an ACLS certification, which is really great. Those are the people that can give you drugs during cardiac arrest events and provide advanced life support. So happy those guys are finishing up. And we just have really good motivation right now in the fire department. Morale is good. And we're all looking forward to the busy call season, which is just starting for us now. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Chief. I don't see any questions. Anyone from the public or the board? No? Again, I'd just like to reiterate the thank you very much from us all to for your work over the flooding event. I think the communication was great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to police, WPD, Chief Hachet.
Yes, basically with Gerdwood, everything's been business as usual. We've had every other week an officer overnighting the whole week in the Gerdwood service area. We just still try to maintain high visibility presence out there. Today was a lot of concentration on traffic. A couple of things work on our end just for informational aspect. We're currently, Whittier Public Safety is currently looking at completing a request for bid proposal for a new dispatch service. And we have right now 3 agencies, law enforcement agencies with dispatch services that are interested. So once that comes final, I'll let you guys know on that too. Just we're trying to look for a better, I guess, level of dispatch services and stuff that we're going to actually outline various things within our dispatch request for proposal. So that's some things that are coming up. Otherwise, last couple of weeks, been working on a budget preparations for Whittier Police Departments. That's going to go to our council. The city of Whittier runs a calendar year budget instead of a normal fiscal year like July 1st through June 30th or federal like October fiscal year. Other than that, business as usual. If anyone has any questions, feel free to give me a call or email me.
Thank you, Chief Hachet. Any questions at all from the board?
Oh, I actually did forget one thing.
Oh, please go ahead.
November 20th, Tom and O'Malley did a great job. We're doing Coffee with the Cops at the Grind there in Gerdwood. Come on out, ask the police officers. I'll be there. Several officers that are on duty and some off-duty officers will be there as well. Just feel free to ask us questions, stop by, and get a cup of coffee. Thank you.
Are you paying for the coffee?
I was told that the drift is covered.
What time is that from?
I believe it's at 10 or 11. I will double check with Tommy, but I know it's Saturday, the 20th, the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you. I see Guy, your hand is up, and then Brianna.
Yeah, thanks, Chief Shea. You had mentioned a new dispatch, and I know in the past when I was Public Safety Action Committee, there was a disconnect between the fire and the police department, maybe at that level or at the level between the personnel. Will your new service rectify that, or has that already been upgraded?
Basically, the new service and from our current dispatch center, as well as the other proposed ones, they all have opportunity to bid, but we're actually spelling out what they're going to be doing or how they're going to take calls, including looking at what kind of software they use that aspect. So we're going to be changing a little bit of things around. It could be our current vendor, or it could be the other 2 prospective vendors that have contacted me. We're also, like I said, we've had 3 law enforcement centers contact me. I'm also, once the proposal is completed, a request for bid is completed, I'm going to also send out several other dispatch centers that are in the state, see if they're interested in bidding as well. But I'm hoping it rectified. A lot of it is just communications, because it's new to the current dispatch center that we're currently using. So it's just a trial by error, and then we're trying to rectify the situation, and just as mistakes happen, we try to fix it. And a lot of it's just been communications.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brianna?
Thank you, Mike. Chief O'Shea is correct. I just was referring to my note from the Public Safety Advisory Committee meeting. So the Coffee with the Cops is at 10 a.m. to noon, and Gator has generously donated drip coffee for the event. And please come out, and thanks to Tommy O'Malley for organizing so we can have discussions with our public officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from other board members or the public? I'm not seeing any more hands. Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate it. Okay, next we have Roads and Park from Kyle.
Can you hear me? We're getting bad feedback. Mike, I'm going to skip while I figure this out.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to public comment, but then we're going to be back to Kyle. So good luck, Kyle. So we'll move to public comment now. Persons offering public comment must state their full name and address. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person and must be on subjects not listed on the agenda. I see 2 hands. The first one is Guy. Oh, I see 1 hand. Ingrid Klinkhart, please go ahead. Oh, no. Now I'm confused. I see Guy's hand and Ingrid's hand. I think Guy might be from earlier, so let's go with Ingrid first.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually a member of the Gerdwood community part-time. I have a condo there, so I spend the weekends down there, but I'm not wearing my Gerdwood community hat today. I'm wearing the hat of an organization that I started about a year ago, just about December of last year. It's called the Conquer COVID Coalition. And I own a marketing firm in Anchorage, and we just felt the need this time last year to get some more messaging out there in the Alaska community at a grassroots level. And so we started this nonprofit, and it was really a conversation with some of our clients who are in the healthcare industry, Alaska Native corporations, and they all wanted to be part of the solution. And the reason I'm here today is kind of long story short, we have been very busy during the last year servicing the entire state with COVID mitigation messaging, essentially, and education to encourage people in rural and urban communities to learn more about the vaccination so that when it became available to them, they would get vaccinated. And then as things have progressed to include the younger generations, to encourage their kids to get vaccinated. And we are now holding clinics throughout the city of Anchorage due to a municipal grant that we received in May. We have one coming up in Gerdwood on Friday at the hotel. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to get in front of you today, to encourage you, if you haven't already gotten the vaccine, or if you haven't got your kiddos vaccinated, to bring them to the hotel this Friday, sometime between 11 and 4 in the Harding room on the 3rd floor of the hotel. And you can also get your flu shot. So we're offering all 3 vaccines, booster shots for those who are eligible, who qualify, as well as flu shots. And I will drop some information, a link to our website, and some information about the event in the chat when I'm done here. But if you are a small business owner or a large business owner, and you want to become a member of the Conquer COVID Coalition, please visit our website. I'll include that in the chat. It's conquercovidak.com. And our mission is about keeping our economy going. So we support everything that the state of Alaska has been doing. We wanted to work in parallel with them, but we have sort of this economic twist, encouraging people to stay healthy so we can generate healthy communities so we can keep our economy going. Our philosophy is healthy people drive a healthy economy. And so, I ask all of you to be ambassadors and encourage your friends and neighbors to learn more if they're hesitant about getting vaccinated, to encourage them to go to conquercovidak.com and they can learn more. I'd be happy to get in touch with them to provide them with information. We're really trying to move the needle in that in the folks who are hesitant and really right now it's some of the minority communities. We're not going out after the true anti-vaxxers because we feel our energy is best spent working and educating some of the folks in our community that are really just hesitant, that need more information, or they can't get a ride to a vaccine clinic, and we help get them there. And so it's been incredibly gratifying. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I encourage you to become a member if you're a business owner, and visit our website. And then this Friday, tell folks about it in your community and have them come to the hotel.
Thank you very much. Could you just remind us again of the website address and
yeah, and I'm going to drop it in the chat here. Yeah, you bet. It's conquercovidak.com. And there's a lot of really great information on there. It can also take you to the state's website so you can make an appointment to get vaccinated. This weekend, or this coming Friday's event, there's no appointment required. We encourage you to register, but you can walk up. And like I said, you can also get your flu shot.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. And then I also see Terence Shanagan's hand up. Is this in your capacity as part of the municipality, Terence?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
I'm Terence. I am the Director of Legislative Affairs and have recently taken over the boards and commissions for the Muni. I just had a couple of updates. First one is the Glacier Valley Transit has come up and a few times here this week, and right now the plan from the mayor's office is to restore funding for that. Over the last week, we had about 97 individuals were approved for various boards and commissions, and we still have around 70 vacancies. And so over this week, you'll start to see that if you go to the Muni's website and look at the boards and commissions link, I've been updating that with all of the new appointments, and so people can look through those boards and commissions and see if there's anything that interests them. So we still have a lot of positions to fill. And with the new infrastructure bill that's passed, there's a potential of some large spending that could benefit the port. We're still waiting to hear from how that's going to shake out for us. So hopefully we'll understand that a little bit more over the coming weeks. And there's going to be a small business Saturday on November 27th. And so that's just kind of a day where we're going to encourage people to shop at your local small businesses throughout the city. And on December 3rd, which is the first Friday of December, we're going to be having an open house at the mayor's office from 4 to 7 p.m. And that'll be on the 8th floor. People can come up for cookies and hot chocolate, meet directors from the city, and have photographs with the mayor. And that's about the update I have. Free to answer any questions that people might have right now.
Thank you very much. It was, I know it was appreciated when the mayor announced at the last assembly meeting that GVT funding was going to be restored. I appreciated that. Thank you. And it's, I think the outreach on boards and commissions is very valuable as well. I think traditionally, at least in the last few years, we haven't had many Gerdwood residents on the boards, but now we have. I think there's a formal process for remote participation that might make it easier for people here as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? I'm not seeing any other hands, so we will move into item number 4, which is the storm we had a week or two ago, an update and discussion on finances. Hopefully you have your microphone and audio set up now, Kyle.
Yeah, I do. I actually.
That sounds better.
I have
Much
teams
better.
working on 3 different things right now because that toolbar won't work in the app, but we're all good. So
okay,
so
please go ahead then. Thank you.
Yes. So update. For those who may not be aware, over the Halloween weekend, there was a continuous storm that ran through Friday through Tuesday, almost into Wednesday, that brought Gerdwood close to over 17 inches of rain. At one point in the event, we had a ½ an inch of rain for about 12 hours straight during the night period, which really elevated the water levels around town, and definitely exposed a few weaknesses that we had in our drainage system, and really a few clogs. And the most significant damage that we experienced was on Echo Ridge, Loveland Road, and then Ruane, the road to the AWU treatment plant and waste transfer station. There we had a complete blowout. The road eroded away and basically opened up a canyon there where the road crosses over California Creek. In that case, what happened was a very large tree trunk came down and got stuck in one of the 2 culverts that go underneath Ruane, causing that to plug, and then basically changing the motion of the water and causing it to erode the bank side, and basically just eroded right underneath the road and took away all the dirt and caused it to collapse. Luckily, there's a sewer line that runs through there and also a gas line. Those were not damaged. When the second culvert that was still flowing buckled, it actually came up and supported the sewer line there and kept it in place, and it gave it support until we could get in there with an I-beam and give it additional support. Over a period of about, I say 8 to 9 days, mostly all the repair work has been completed. Echo Ridge has been restored to probably better than it was before. We probably won't have to do much work next spring and summer up there. The crews were able to get in there and do some significant improvements and reestablish the road and the ditch line, and so that looks good. As well for Loveland, we were able to fix the problem we had there with an undersized culvert that was plugged on private property, and we were able to get in there and actually install a fish passage, which Fish and Game wanted, and upsize that culvert so it can carry much more water like the rest of the system has. So that looks great. And then down on Ruane, our original goal there was to put one temporary 60-inch, 80-foot long pipe in, continue to use the other one, and then next summer build a true fish passage there. That has always been on our work list. It's been a very expensive project, which we've been saving towards to replace the 2 culverts that are there. They weren't fish adequate. And if you live here in Gerdwood and if you know the fishing here, all the fish come up right to those culverts and they kind of get stuck and they turn there, and then they can't get through the culverts to go further upstream to better breeding grounds. So it just becomes sort of a fishing hole. And so the thought was a golden opportunity. And but once we exposed that second pipe, we had strong concerns about its weakness. There was quite a bit of water coming out from underneath it. And with that exposure, we were worried that could lead to the road having a sinkhole or eventually just not working out. So the decision by the engineer and the hydrologist was to replace both pipes. So we had a 2-step process we had to do where we went in and we put one 60-inch, 80-foot long pipe in. We backfilled that and then put a road in so that the treatment plant could deal with their growing sludge pile that was in there. As they treat the wastewater, it comes in, they produce sludge. A pumper truck comes in, pumps that out, and takes it up to the Eagle River landfill once a week. At this point, by Tuesday of last week, they were getting to the point where they needed to have that pumped. So we backfilled, opened a temporary 1-lane road so they could get in, and also so the tenants of the industrial park could get in, get their supplies, and then get out. And then once everybody was able to do that, by about 3:30 in the afternoon, we started digging and then removed that second pipe and installed the brand new 80-foot 60-inch. So 160 feet of pipe basically installed in 4 days. And we had the road fully reopened to traffic by Friday. The transfer station reopened to normal operations, normal access to the industrial park in AWU. And then they wrapped it up for the winter Saturday. So at this point, the road is open and is functional. We will definitely have work to do in the spring, but the long-term fix still needs to be addressed by the community to figure out how to put a fish patches culvert in there and make that work going forward. We were still working on repairs today. We had repairs out on the end of Alberg and also up in Brighton on the end of Alberg, we had a stream that completely filled up and then was causing the water to overflow into the 5K parking lot out there. They dug all that out, relined it with rock, and made it to the standards that Fish and Game wanted. It's a fish creek. And then up on Brighton, we had a plugged driveway culvert on the downhill of Brighton or Crystal Mountain into Brighton. And so they were able to clean all that culvert out, get it reflowing again. And then deal with some rutted roads over there, which they backfilled with wrap. And then over the next couple of days, we'll be clearing out all our material. We set up a temporary laydown yard up in the Alyeska Day Lodge parking lot since we couldn't access our yard at the industrial park. And we will be finishing cleaning all that up, getting that out of there. We really thank Alyeska Resort for their partnership and right away giving us the yes to turn that into a laydown yard and make it a temporary yard for operations. Actually, the location was ideal for our response areas and made our repairs much faster by doing that. So thank you to Alyeska Resort and the staff there and Brian Burnett for making that work. So by Thursday, we should be done with this portion of work and back to regular operations. And as you saw, we've gotten 2 snowstorms in the last 2 days, or in the last week here. And so at times we were doing the repairs and plowing snow and getting that stuff all open. So it's been very eventful, but I really want to thank Western and Paul Light, the owner of Western, for their leadership and expertise and a great crew that worked basically 12-hour days through this and to get everything reopened for us. So that's where we stand with the repairs at this time. Now we're going to start paying for it all. And, you know, from my rough calculations of trying to get a sense of everything we've used, everything we've trucked in, we had to basically haul in all our materials because we couldn't access it except for what we could use down there at Ruang once we got equipment going on that side, and our pipe and everything. You know, we're estimating somewhere, you know, close to probably the 600,000 to 800,000 for cost of repairs and all the things that have gone into it. And that also takes in the fact that we have things we haven't addressed yet that we will need to fix. There's a variety of small things that have eroded. They weren't high priority and we felt they could survive through the winter, but they do need to be addressed next spring and summer in that aspect and made stronger. So we have those things we're working through. Gerdwood does have an emergency reserve fund of about $612,000 for events like this. We also have an undesignated savings account. These are funds that aren't designated for anything, and we have about $298,000 in there. And then we have an area-wide fund that we can use. We have access to. It's called a Bridge and Dam Fund. And in this sense, it can work in this application, and especially for the damages on Ruan. And that's 163,000 there that we use. So, and then Gerdwood also has a road capital account that we put money aside for capital projects. That account is actually its lowest point probably in a long time, because we used a great portion of it for repaving Alberg Road, but we got 109,000 in there. So we do have funds liquid to do this, but like anything, if we use those funds, we need to rebuild them for the next event that happens. And we will be able to pay our bills on a timely method for Western, so that they can pay their subs and their bills as well. And we'll start to see those bills coming in. Western is going to separate everything out according to the response area. So there'll be costs associated with Loveland, Echo Ridge, Brighton, and the 5K and Ruan. So we'll be able to see the damages, how much each of those areas cost to repair. They give a breakdown there. So basically that's where we stand there, and with all that. So I'll open up any questions.
Okay, there's a couple of things I'd just like to point out, especially when you went through the finances we have available. So we have 600 and you said 12,000 in the emergency.
Correct.
Fund. Yeah. So the other amounts, we've already allocated much of that to other projects. So we've allocated we're saving on the road fund for, ironically enough, a culvert replacement work, which is urgent and probably even more urgent now. And I know the undesignated fund includes money we have already decided as a board we are going to allocate to other capital projects, both the fire department and I think also Parks and Rec. Just the money hasn't physically been moved yet. Correct. So if we touch any of that, we'll effectively be taking money away from projects we've already allocated that money to. And I think the important thing for the community to understand here is, a lot of local government throughout the state, throughout the country, when they have capital projects, they will bond for it. That has not been an option for Gerdwood, mostly because when we propose bonds, they have to be passed both by Gerdwood and by the assembly. By the municipality more broadly. And we have not had any examples where it has passed Gerdwood and also passed the municipality. So typically, if there's even though we're paying for the bond ourselves within Gerdwood, it doesn't get approved by the rest of the municipality. So we've moved away from relying on bonds because they're not a reliable source of funding for capital projects. And what we do is save money. So we save money, and when we have enough, we then spend it on the project. And if we have to take a small loan or some intergovernmental loan to cover the balance, we'll do it that way. So what we'll be doing if we spend money from anything other than the emergency fund is sort of eating into our existing planned capital projects and probably delaying them by several years. And then the other concern is how we replenish that emergency fund, because it's clear we do need that to be available. So I have big concerns over the funding options we have in front of us now. And I know we have some other things to talk about that, but I'll just open it up to the other board members. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands from anyone else on the board. Could we talk about can we move on to the next item on, we had a special meeting on Friday, on Thursday, to discuss our actions, what we should do, and we sent a letter to the mayor requesting requesting him to request that a state of emergency to be declared at the state level, which opens up various state funds. Have we had anything back at all from that?
At this point in time, I have not heard anything back officially or unofficially.
Right, thank you. Guy, sorry, I see your head up.
Yeah, Mike, I'm just curious, between now and our last meeting we had, where we talked about the letter we had written to the municipality, if we learned of any other funding sources or direction on that, to look for alternative funding sources to support these projects.
We are looking. There are other things that we may be able to find. At the moment, we don't have. I think at the moment we have our emergency fund and probably that money from the dams, previous dams bond, and that appears to be it. That's the only things we can spend now, and we have nothing at all in that we know is available for the permanent replacement of the crossing at Rouen, which we know is a critical piece of infrastructure now, because the industrial park and all of our equipment is the other side of it.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I assume as going forward, we will continue to look for other funding options that may be out there that we learn as we go along in this process.
Yeah, we will. I think we should as a board, and obviously staff will be as well.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
I just wanted to respond a little bit to Guy's question. I did have a community member reach out to me after we posted on the Gerdwood Facebook page that she thought there might be some FEMA brick funds possibility. I don't know about that. I haven't had a chance to look into it, but she volunteered to help with it. So I just wanted to use that as one example of the community trying to pitch in and help and be creative with this. And so that's all I got so far because I haven't had time to fully research it.
So could you repeat the funding that someone suggested?
FEMA brick funds, an application out, and she said the state of Alaska has over $1 million to distribute, and not a lot of it. I don't know if we qualify or not. So, but I appreciate the thought, and I can also forward this information to the board members.
Thank you. I mean, we do understand there is funding available for exactly this circumstance at the state level, but there needs to be this step of an emergency declaration to get access to it. So that's kind of the primary thing that's in front of us that is designed for exactly this case. But any other sources would be valuable, and definitely we still need a way to solve the permanent fix to Rouen. Actually, that is a question I had for you, Kyle. We have kind of an emergency fix now, and I know it's a good emergency fix, but what's the sort of, how long do we have before that has to be fixed permanently, would you say?
Well, I think it's a matter of money. It's the hydrologist, stated that even the 60-inch pipes we put in, which do have a bit higher capacity than the pipes that were there before, still are undersized for the storm events that are predicted for that creek and flood events. What really saved our bacon on this, I think, was that the snow levels didn't go as high as predicted. They were calling anywhere from 3,000 to 3,500 feet for snow levels, and the snow levels stuck around about 25. And so if we had actually increase, if the snow level had gone up, our shed factor would have increased, and we would have had more water in those creeks. And so we will continue to see events like that going forward. And ideally, a box culvert would be installed, which would have a natural bottom to it, which Fish and Game really wants, and has a much larger capacity, basically oversized, to let the flow go through. We have a box culvert out. An example is out on the Alberg extension, out just before you get to the 5K parking lot out there. You cross over a box culvert there. That's quite oversized for that creek, but when that creek does flow, it has no problem at all handling it. So it's one of those things where we've seen what can happen, and we know we can avoid it. We just aren't there yet to make that happen going forward. So, and before we finish on this topic, I'd like to talk about one funding request that I want to run by the board on survey of this new culvert and getting a post-construction survey, so we have that to start planning for something new in the future.
Okay, I see Brianna and Jennifer both have their hands up. Brianna, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, thanks, Mike. I'm not totally sure where to begin, but I echo a lot of comments that have already been made by the board and by Kyle, emphasizing underlying issues in our drainage and our community that need repair, and even more urgently than we previously thought based on this storm. And all signs have been pointing that we need to continue upgrading our infrastructure to be prepared for another storm. So I'm very concerned about depleting these savings in the amounts that are brought forth tonight, that we would then not have anything that we've already allocated for important projects and capital projects that Kyle's been working on for years, and GBOS previous seats and current seats are making decisions for our community. So we're here for our community, and I hope that people can let us know how they feel about the next steps we have to take. And at GBOS's last meeting, a special meeting on Wednesday, we wrote a letter to the mayor requesting an emergency declaration. So hopefully if we don't hear something soon, we can make another decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Brianna. Jennifer?
Yeah, Kyle, I just wanted to kind of throw out there, I did see one community question around the possibility of putting a bridge in. You don't have to answer it now, but if you do have a answer off the cuff for that, I'd be interested in hearing if there are any cheaper options at all besides this culvert.
Well, the one challenge we have is between where the culvert lays and the top of the road is the sewer pipe. And so the sewer pipe comes down Ruane, crosses over, and then goes into what they call a drop connect, and it goes further down and then drains to the plant there. The problem that they faced is that in order to get that sewer pipe with adequate coverage underneath the natural creek bed, they would lose flow to the plant. The pitch from just past the creek to the plant allows for that water to get into the initial intake intake area at the plant. So if they were to lower it to get below the creek, and still, you have to have enough coverage so that pipe doesn't freeze and the frost level doesn't get down to it. Even though the creek probably would protect it, they would lose it. So putting a bridge in there, we would have to figure out how to insulate that pipe and do it, which can be done. Anything can be done with enough money to make it work. But right now, that ground that's between the culverts and the top of the road is insulating that sewer pipe that is basically catching all the sewer water from Alyeska Highway, those up in the Mine Rows, Old Town. It's all coming down that street. There's two trunks that come into the treatment plant, and one comes in down Ruane, and the other one comes down Corlelis behind the library and fire station here.
Okay, so just quick nutshell, that in other words, it probably wouldn't be cheaper, and it's because of the complications of the sewer pipe.
Correct. Yeah, the sewer pipe is that's what makes it complicated, and I think that's why those pipes were shaped originally the way they were, was to give as much coverage and insulation to that sewer pipe.
Thanks.
Thanks. Before I open up to the community, the other point I wanted to make was, I think as Brianna said, well, and Kyle said, we were lucky in that given the amount of rain, we didn't have as much water go into our system as we would probably expected if the snow line had been higher. And in particular, we didn't have the very high flows down Alyeska Creek we have done in previous storms. And that would have created problems at the culverts we know are failing along Alyeska Creek, and also would have created, house flooding along that area, around Mount Hood and other areas around there. So I think that it's very clear that that project to replace the culverts has to be very high on our list going forward. And also the overall study on our drainage system has to be a very high priority as well. So we have a couple of projects which we had started to put money away for, which again we're going to eat into by spending just service area resources. but in fact their urgency has increased. So I'm very worried about how we pay for both replenishing the emergency fund and the work that we have to do with even higher urgency in the light of this experience. Okay, so I think we have a couple more things to discuss. We have the consideration of the meeting date for further discussions on this very topic. And Kyle, you also talked about potentially having a survey done as well.
Yes.
Why don't we cover those, and then we'll open up to any other comments from the community.
Okay. Let me share this here with you. This is a overview and of the area at Ruane there. And now that we've completed the 2 new culverts in there, it's highly suggested that we have a post-survey in there for several reasons. One, to know what's been constructed and how it's constructed and where it lays within the area. 2 is when we redid this, we changed the inverts on that pipe to be lower because the old inverts were quite high on the intake side, which then held water back and basically created like a pool on the other side, which just put additional pressure on the bank of the road and that location. So through our hydrologists, we dropped the inverts about 1 foot on that side, which allows the water to move through, and the water level has gone down quite significantly. Also, it's created a better flow through the pipe so that if fish do try to go through it, they have a better chance. Before, it was just a fire hose that was just too strong to get through. With the inverts lowered, the water isn't moving as quick through the pipes, and so there is a chance that they could get through. So a survey would help us show the final results to Fish and Game, so they have a great understanding as to what now is living there. As well to the Army Corps of Engineers, it will show that we removed the sediment within the 200-foot mark, which was required, and we actually hauled all that sediment out of that basin there. That was all the road base, and took it to our industrial lot and recreated as much as possible sort of a natural pool there for fish habitat in that aspect. With the survey also, it will help us jump right into design work on a new one. If we identify sources, which could be through this Infrastructure Act that funding that's coming, we would have the survey done, and then design team can go right to designing something like this fish culvert that is needed there. So with that, we would go up and downstream of it to understand how it is laid out now that we've lowered those inverts, and give a better understanding of the flow and the topography of the area in that aspect. We would work with CRW in tandem with Bill Spencer, our hydrologist at HDR, to get this survey done. And we like to do it now before there's more snow, to get them out in the field while the project is fresh, and get that survey done. So we have it in case something does come up over the winter where we could start on design and make it work. If not, just be ready to go when maybe the funding comes available to replace and put adequate pipe in there. What we'd be looking at is, this is the design proposal for it. The total would be $37,000 for it to be completed. That's the top end price. A lot of times we see these, they use maybe about 95% of the budget. Rarely they go to 100%, sometimes at 90 to 95% in their estimating here. So I would consider this part of the emergency repairs, that we have an adequate survey of what's been constructed and that available for future design needs. As well, this would work for AWU, and we'd probably look towards AWU to see if they could help us with some funding of this. At some point, we're going to tally all our costs and then go to AWU to see if they can help us with some reimbursement on the things, especially with the things that related to supporting the pipe and all that.
Thanks, Kyle. Are you asking for a discussion and decision on this today?
Yeah, I would like to. Otherwise, we would have to call for a special meeting. You know, like we said, the clock is ticking, and the more snow we get out there, the more expensive it gets for the surveyors to be out there in the field, especially if it gets really deep. Right now, they can function and they can get started on it pretty quick.
Okay, and I think on the topic of AWU, has there been any response from AWU? Have we reached out yet to ask if they're in a position to support some of the work that was done on their behalf?
We have not yet, but we need to get those bills in front of us to understand the
Okay.
different things. So once we get more, they are open to discussions, and Lance Wilbur, Director of Public Works, is looking to lead that.
Okay, so with this in front of us, then I would entertain a motion to approve this survey work.
Mike, I move to approve the $37,000 for the survey of the work done on Ruan Road culvert.
This is Brianna. I'll second.
Thanks. Now we have a motion and a second. We can discuss the motion. Would anyone like to talk to this? Guy, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I just, if we are going to put in a new culvert there, particularly if this passage one, then a survey is going to be required at some time anyway. So I think it's important. Do we know the stream alignment? Did it change any, particularly that meander just upstream? And, how are they going to, will they survey that as well and calculate flow?
Yeah, that is part of the survey. They actually will walk the center line of the stream up and survey that whole thing. And as I said, 200 feet in each direction to look at that. And the hydrologist actually asked, I think, to go up a little bit further on the upstream side. 250 feet up of the and downstream of the culvert.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Like I said, I think we need to do that survey at some point. That, the pool at the bottom was kind of a typical case, undersized culverts creating the, scour down at that discharge, creating those pools. So we want to avoid that. I think the survey is necessary.
And each side of this new pipe, we put 12 feet of riprap in to help stop that scouring. That was a direction from the hydrologist as well.
Okay, thanks, Guy. Amanda?
Thank you. I would just like to say that based on some of the meetings I've been sitting in on GAOA funding and federal funding, it's really important to have these surveys in place and even design work in place to help get funds. The federal government and a lot of places that give out grants want to have their money go toward actual work and not planning. So this is really important for this to get done, and then maybe over the winter, so that we were prepared for construction season, we can be looking at other funding sources. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Brianna?
Thanks, Mike. Kyle, did you say also in the urgency before it snows again, or do these freezing temperatures have any negative impact on the survey?
No, it's more the snow level. If the pack's really thick, then it's just harder. They have to dig down. So they can work with this the way it is right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Brianna. Jennifer, I saw your hand up earlier. Do you still want to say something?
No, thank you. Amanda addressed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say one thing on this. I think you said we can consider this, or at least a substantial part of it, part of the emergency response to survey the work we've done, rather than a new piece of work for the replacement. Obviously, I encourage us to categorize it that way, so we can, as we seek reimbursement for the emergency work, we can make this part of that cost.
Yeah, PME recognized it that way too. They said there should be a post survey done on, especially a culvert that carries this much water.
Great, thank you. Any other comments from the board or from members of the community? All right, not seeing any more hands. We have a motion and a second, and we've had discussion, so I think we move to vote. So can you do roll call, please, Kyle?
Yes. Mike Edgington,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Amanda Sassy,
Yes.
Guy Wade,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And I think the final item we had was potentially another special meeting on the, I think, potentially on the 29th, to give an update on where things stand, on where funding opportunities stand.
Yes, we definitely are going to try to get all our billings together so that we can talk with you about where we want to move funds from, and we can get GBOS's support on that, or non-objection on it, so that we can get something to the assembly. Our sort of our deadline is the 30th to get something to the assembly for their meeting on the 3rd. Is that right? Yes, the 3rd of December, and that way those funds can be moved, and we can get all our bills paid before end of year. The thing that we're bumping up is now we're going into month 12 of our fiscal year, and at the end of the year we close our fiscal year, and we need to pay all our bills out. And yeah, like I said, Western needs to be paid as well. So we will start to see invoices coming in from Western, and we will try to have as many ready for you by the 29th as possible.
Okay, I don't think we need to vote on that. I think we can just assume there'll be a notice coming around for that meeting, a meeting on that date. Yeah, and I think that makes sense to have that. It makes sense to have it so we can get money moved around as needed.
Correct.
And then focus on deal with the immediate problem of bill paying, and then focus on how we how we get reimbursement for this.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on this topic from the board or from the community? Jerry, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, the letter you wrote to the mayor, have you heard anything back?
I think Kyle addressed that earlier. He said he has not heard anything formally or informally. I have not. I think Brianna and I both have our contact details, our email and phone numbers on there. And since it was sent on Friday, we have not received. I have not received anything, and I don't believe Brianna has either. I think
I have not through the chair.
I'll reach out more proactively again tomorrow and see if anything comes of that.
Thanks.
The letter is available on the, I believe it's available on the website. I'm not sure if it's available on our website, but definitely it was linked to in the minutes that came around from the special meeting on Thursday. We'll make sure the letter is available on the website. It was copied to our assembly members, our state representatives, the Anchorage Emergency Operations Center, the Alaska Emergency Operations Center, and the Governor's Office and the Governor's Chief of Staff.
Yeah, Mike, it is on the website. I saw it today.
Okay, great. Thanks. Matthew.
Hi, I just had a really quick kind of request, and you guys are really good about this anyways, but if any budget requests that, the state should be involved in, if you could just include us on those emails, and that way when people ask us questions, we'll be able to answer them a little bit better. And then I have a meeting related, not this, something else with the mayor's office. I haven't heard formally about this from the mayor's office yet, as I had talked to Brianna about a little bit, but I'm going to try to walk down the hall a little bit and see if we could get anything else. And that's on Wednesday. So hopefully if I hear anything from then, I'll send it as well to the supervisors' emails.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Much appreciated. Okay, I think we've covered this item. Thank you, everyone. So I'm actually going to make a slight change in order, only because we had technical difficulties. I don't think we have H. Lee, who's on here, who wanted to speak during public comment, and I don't think I caught it in time. So we will go back briefly for one 3-minute presentation. Do you want to go ahead, Mr. Lee?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Please go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. I'll do 3 minutes. Thank you, everybody in Gerdwood. I've been to Gerdwood many times. I live in Wasilla. Yeah, whenever I go to Kenai Peninsula, I stop by in Gerdwood and take pictures and, you know, fill my gas and buy some food, everything. So, yeah, my name is Hon Ki Lee. I'm running for United States Senate next year as an independent Alaskan. Thank you for your service and thank you for your professionalism and your great sense of humor. I really enjoy your great sense of humor. And the way I do my campaign, U.S. Senate campaign, I just go to Zoom meetings all over Alaska, meetings like this. And if they don't have meetings, I send them emails so that they can include my correspondence to their meetings. So a little bit more about myself. My name is Hon Ki Lee. I'm running for United States Senate as an independent Alaskan. So I've been living in Alaska 1 year in Anchorage and 5 years in Wasilla, Alaska. And so I'm kind of new. But so why did I come to Alaska? I want to join the adventure. Before Alaska, I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, law school. And I just watch a lot of Alaskan TV shows like what have you? You have like Yukon Man, you have Hymo Korth documentary, you have like Alaska, the Last Frontier. I was fascinated. After I graduated from law school, I just came and I was unemployed for 3 months. After that, I got a computer programmer job, and that was like back in like 6 years ago, so it's 2015, right? So, and then I started studying for Alaska bar exam. So 3 years ago, 2018, I passed Alaska bar exam. So now I'm working as a lawyer in Alaska, in Wasilla. So I've been involved in like local politics because I like protested some of the city government was doing, like banning the plastic bag. I love plastic bag. Okay, so that's how I got involved in politics, like by accident. Okay, so what is my politics? I'm independent. Sometimes I'm agree with Democrats. Sometimes I agree with Republicans. It just depends on the issues. Okay, so my political agenda is this: environmentally responsible development of Alaskan resources. Alaska, we have copper, molybdenum, gold, oil, and gas. I believe we can bring the left and right together and develop those resources environmentally soundly and make a lot of money and create jobs, keep the PFD, and lower the tax. And if we have a lot of money left, we'll help out the poor people too. So that's what I would do if I get elected next year, U.S. Senate. Okay, thank you very much. That's my 3 minutes. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Okay. We will move on to item number 5, agenda item LUC 2110-06, Gerdwood Community Land Trust request for GBOS resolution of support for grant applications related to community gardens by Gerdwood CLT. Crystal, are you here?
I am here, and just wanted to make a short revision on the last paragraph I've proposed for the resolution. So the resolution of support for grants and funding for Gerdwood Community Land Trust is the title. And I want it to be a little bit more broad than just community gardens, although that has been the thing that I have been before the Board of Supervisors more than anything possibly. And because at the bottom, it says to pursue grant and funding opportunities for the purpose of expanding community gardens, increase food growing, sustainability, self-sufficiency, and food security in Gerdwood. So I'd like to see it not just specifically only be for community gardens, but for more like food growing opportunities so that we can have a more self-sufficient and sustainable community going forward. I think the example of the flood showed us that we are not completely prepared for everything that Alaska might throw at us. And I think the pandemic has given us an example that we're not prepared for things that global events might hand to us. And I think having the ability to grow some more food here would be kind of almost like a safety and security measure. And also I would like to move forward with anything that had to do with food security. So I'm happy to read the resolution if anybody wants more information, but that is it in a nutshell of what I'm trying to accomplish and funding that I'm trying to acquire.
Okay, thank you. I think what we typically do is one of us will read the resolution as effectively as a motion, and then we'll get a second, and then we'll move into discussion, and then we can make amendments. Would anyone like to read? Anyone volunteer to read this resolution? If not, I will.
This is Brianna. I'll read it.
Thank you, Brianna.
And if Mr. Lee could mute real quick. Thank you.
Is it Control-Shift-M?
I don't know. Someone else can mute. Okay, I'll read Resolution 2021 of the Girdwood Board of Supervisors, Resolution of Support for Grants and Funding for Girdwood Community Land Trust. Whereas residents of Gerdwood have come together to express interest in expanding community gardens in Gerdwood to increase the culture of sustainability, self-sufficiency, and local food sourcing. And whereas various opportunities for funding of such projects are being made available to qualifying entities and communities with the purpose of fostering healthy communities and improving food security for low-income individuals and families. And whereas Alaska Community Gardens projects can be enhanced through one or more of the following ways: infrastructure investment, gardening or food-related education, and expanding community access to locally grown foods and participation in gardening projects. And whereas Gerdwood Community Land Trust has surveyed the community for feedback and collected 250 plus letters of support from Gerdwood owners and residents, specifically stating their support for land being set aside for food growing opportunities and housing options for local residents. And whereas Gerdwood Community Land Trust is a sponsored organization of Gerdwood Inc., a recognized 501c3 for 17 years, and whereas this action has been recommended by the Gerdwood Land Use Committee by a vote of 26 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 abstaining at the regular meeting on October 11th, 2021. Therefore, the Gerdwood Board of Supervisors resolves support for Gerdwood Community Land Trust via Gerdwood Inc. to pursue grant and funding opportunities for the purpose of expanding community gardens, increased food growing, sustainability, self-sufficiency, and food security in Gerdwood, passed and approved by a vote of XX to this 15th day of November 2021. Mike Edgington, Land Use Supervisor, GBOS.
Thank you. So that effectively acts as a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Amanda. Now let's move into discussion. Okay, I have one comment. So generally this is a support for a general concept rather than anything specific. So I think there's no particular location set aside for this yet, but this is really, so this isn't support for a specific project. This is support for grant applications to show there's general community support behind the concept. If there's a particular project in a particular location, it'll have to come back through the process. If GBOS support is going to be provided for that. That's my understanding where we stand.
Yep, that sounds good. Just basically very similar to what Mountain Bike Alliance did, where they got a general approval to apply for grants is what we're looking for, so that this could be included with those grant applications. There's just one very minor amendment that I would make at the very last paragraph. Therefore, the Gerdwood Board of Supervisors resolves support for Gerdwood Community Land Trust. I would put comma, including via Gerdwood Inc., comma, to pursue grant funding, because there is an opportunity where we could apply on our own, but I believe the majority of them we're going to need Gerdwood Inc. So it's very minor detail, but just so that we would be eligible to apply for something on our own, but also using them as our sponsoring organization, or as a sponsored organization. So that's about it.
Okay, would anyone like to make that amendment? Anyone on the board like to make that amendment?
This is Brianna. I'll move to amend the final paragraph with the comma stated by Crystal.
So be land trust, comma, including via Gerdwood Inc.
Land trust, comma, including via Gerdwood Inc.
That
Yes,
makes
thank
sense.
you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to second that amendment?
I'll second that amendment.
Thanks. Any discussion on the amendment? Okay, not seeing any hands. Let's move on to a vote on the amendment. Can you do a roll call, please, Carl? Thank you.
Yep. Mike Edgington,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Amanda Sassy,
Yes.
Guy Wade,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Amendment to the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. So we now have this this resolution as amended in front of us. Any further discussion on this from the board? Any further discussion from the community? I'm not seeing any hands from anybody, so let's move on to a roll call vote again, please, Kyle. This is on the motion itself to approve this resolution as amended.
Mike Edgington,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Amanda Sassy,
Yes.
Guy Wade,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes as amended 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and good luck with the grant applications, Crystal and Community Land Trust.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we'll move on to number 6, agenda item LUC 2110-08, HLB request for GBOS resolution of support for rezone of approximately 6.35 acres from Gerdwood Institutions and Parks to Gerdwood Residential 3, located within Tract B, Gerdwood Elementary School subdivision, plat 85-38, with a 50-foot buffer from the parcel line along the Athabascan Trail and 50-foot buffer from the center line of the Iditarod National Historic Trail. I think this will be Shelley, is that correct? We'll be presenting this?
It is. I'm all you've got. Yes, thank you, Mike. Shelley Roughton with the HLB. I'm all you've got as far as HLB goes. Of course, Connie Oshimera and Charlotte Gaston are on the line also, representing the developer for Holton Hills. First of all, I want to just say that I'm offended that Brian Burnett is not here because I specifically made maps for him after his comments last week. So everybody let him know. Would you like me to share my screen, Kyle? Can I do that?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing and you can take over. So here we go.
Okay. Great. Let's. Uh-oh. I promise I'm getting there. Well, maybe we're not.
I can share too if you want.
Do you want to? That'll probably be better.
Would you like me to share the map you sent earlier?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's giving me issues from the browser. So while he's getting that, I'm asking for support for a rezone that allows us to create additional lots at the front of the proposed Holton Hills development. This is a wide view of the, well, zoom back out, Kyle. Okay. Some people just asked for kind of a frame of reference on phase 1. So this is what the approximate boundaries of phase 1 would be. And then phase 2 would extend into the rest of that GR3 zoned area to the northeast. The piece that I'm asking to be rezoned is the GIP that falls within the Holton Hills boundary and to the west of that.
I'll get there.
Okay. There's a second map that is at a closer zoom level. Not that one.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Well, that one's okay. We can, that shows the rezone area.
Correct. I'll bring it back.
Okay. All right, this is it zoomed in. And so it looks like a very small area there when you look at this. You kind of think, well, that's insignificant. But when you look at the next page, Kyle, page 3, you can see that it actually affects, ooh, that's big. It actually affects 6 of the lots down on the corner there. And if those lots had to be excluded from the development, you are now constructing road and infrastructure, linear feet of road and infrastructure that you're not able to assign cost to a lot. And that is generally kind of how you look at your cost of infrastructure. So then that would have to be offset by the other lots, therefore driving up the price of the lots. And this is the phase in which we really wanted to address Gerdwood's request for attainable housing. So this rezone will allow us to keep it as affordable as we can. And as we discussed last week, I recommended that Gbos, that the support be conditioned on a 50-foot buffer from the center line of the Iditarod National Historic Trail and a 50-foot buffer from the property line that runs northwest of the Athabascan Trail, northeast of the Athabascan Trail. So I'm going to stop there. I think most people on the line have seen this and kind of know about it, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you guys have. So thanks.
Thank you, Shelley. Actually, I have one question first. You mentioned 6 lots. So I think I counted 5 there. Is the lot, the southern end on the east of the road, is that actually I thought that was a continuation of the tract. Is that actually a lot for sale? The very first one, basically.
No, that is part of, that is still part of ASD. So then you enter into the first kind of wedge-shaped lot. So it's portion, it's the sum really, or the majority of 4 lots and pieces of 2 other lots. A large piece of one and a tiny piece of another. So yeah.
I'm just not, I think I'm missing this is only a detail, but I'm missing how the majority of 4, I'm only seeing,
well, the
majority of 3 plus 2.
The AWU tract.
Oh, got it. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Because AWU will have to, I don't think that they have paid us for that one. So I think that they will end up having to pay us for that.
I was thinking the ones that are going to be used for housing, not the AWU tract. Thank you for the clarification.
Right. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board? We're doing this generally. Okay, let's see. Oh, Jennifer, please go ahead.
Actually, it's not a question, Shelley. I just wanted to appreciate the maps, even though Brian Burnett isn't do it for himself.
Thank you.
I agree.
I actually requested the CAD file from the engineer, but the one he sent me contained stuff from Ketchikan. So at the last minute, I had to go in there and freehand that boundary.
Well, thank you.
Anything for Gerdwood.
I think if it contained Ketchikan, it would probably be at the wrong scale, wouldn't it, to see the details?
It was on
Amanda.
the wrong coordinate system, I think, too.
All right.
Yeah.
Amanda, and then Wyatt,
Yes.
and then Guy.
Thank you. I wanted to just say that although this will hopefully help keep the lots affordable, those are affordable is, you know, subjective, or attainable also is in the language of the resolution. So that's the point. And then HLB doesn't have, like, once this property is sold, any way to keep the these parcels specifically to be more affordable. So just wanted to make sure to point that out. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Guy?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Apologize for not being more informed on this, but is this your final footprint going that direction, or do you anticipate further rezoning in this GIP area?
I'm proposing that we rezone the entire GIP area on this parcel. I can't split zone. So if you were to not support the rezone of the entire GIP area, I would have to wait until Connie's platting action is done to complete the rezone. Because like I said, I can't do a split zone. So it would probably hold up. It wouldn't hold up construction, but it would hold up availability of those lots probably by a year. And it doesn't remove any of the existing community uses that are available in PLI. Kyle, will you back up a slide or a page? So while that entire portion there across Tiny Creek and over to Crow Creek Road will be rezoned to GR3, if the school district came to us and said, we need to build a school on that area that is not wetlands, that could still happen. So we're not eliminating community needs or uses, the potential for those on that. If we rezone, we're just opening up other possibilities down the road. And we're still, if the cemetery parcel ends up being conveyed, we're still down about, I don't know, it's in my other presentation, several, over 10 residential acres in Gerdwood. So, yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, no, thanks. I just, the development itself, the footprint of the development.
Oh,
is that
well, you should have stopped me a long time ago. That is the concept plan from the developer. We're having a concept meeting with the planning department next Wednesday. There will likely be tweaks as they move through their platting process and their CUP PUD application. But we do have updated wetland mapping, and so that is a feasible design for phase 1. So if Connie, if you want to say anything.
Well, thank you. I guess the only thing that I would add, Shelley and everyone, is it is a concept plan, but the concept is unique in that it is one community, but it has mixed density. And we did that on purpose. We have smaller lots, we have townhouses, And we have 3 lots that hopefully will facilitate condominiums, 8 on each of these large lots. And so our lots vary in width, they vary in size. We are trying to touch as much of the variety and diversity in housing that I've heard in these meetings in this Holton Hills to begin with. So these lots at the entrance are really very, very important, and because it is financially very, very difficult to build a road without having the ability to have lots on each side of it. We have you see this track here at the bottom that's gray. This is the wetland area, and we lost 5 lots in this area, and so it would be very difficult for us to try to lose another 4 or 5 lots. We obviously will do some tweaking based upon our initial concept meeting with the planning department. It's unfortunate that Michelle McNulty is going to be leaving on December 8th. She has seen this plan, and she does endorse the concept of housing in a mixed density environment. In order for that to be successful, we do have to have a homeowners association. And so that's going to be very, very important to have some continuity within the community. We won the RFP based on a 9-0 vote, I have been told, simply because we are residential land developers. We do not do vertical construction. So that is going to help us be able to bring in a variety of builders. This is not going to be built by one builder. We hope to be able to sell lots to private parties. We hope to be able to sell lots to small builders, as well as some of the builders that are already there building in the community. But as you know, there's been very little building, and you know, you've had Trevi Builders there. You're not going to have Alexander Homes. You've got some other builders that are coming in, but it's always just one builder, one builder, one custom home. Many of these homes are really, hopefully, going to be created for owner occupancy and what is considered attainable housing. Girdwood is an expensive place to build due to its climate, due to the wetlands, the challenge of the topography actually. But so we are going to need the multifamily to help us, and I think the community needs the multifamily. But these lots at the entrance are very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. What I'm going to do is I'm going to again request somebody to read the resolution, which is in the packet, or if not, I can. Brianna, are you volunteering to read?
Yes, I am. And
okay.
I'm also happy to say thank you, Shelley, for supplying Kyle with that map so we could all view it, because it was not in the packet. And
that's because I started it at 5:43 today.
I'm glad I have a computer that can see it. Okay. Mike, whenever you're ready, I can read it.
Yeah, please go ahead, Brianna. And then this will act as the motion.
Okay. Resolution 2021-XX of the Gerber Board of Supervisors. Resolution of support for HLB rezone of approximately 6.6 acres of GIP to GR3 within Tract B, Gerdwood Elementary School subdivision. Whereas GBOS has heard many times of the need for additional housing, and in particular need for attainable housing opportunities in Gerdwood, and whereas recently the Heritage Land Bank HLB provided an opportunity for developers to pursue development of some HLB parcels through a request for proposal. And whereas the winning concept through the RFP process has been determined and that group has come forward with tentative plans for phase 1 of development, which is proposed behind the Girdwood K-8 school and includes up to 5 lots in an area currently zoned PLI. And whereas the lots affected by this rezone will be offered for sale at a rate intended to facilitate attainable housing, and whereas in order to have this portion of the development remain financially viable, the HLB requests rezoning of land currently zoned Girdwood Institutions and Parks, GIP, to GR3, single family, 2-family residential. And whereas HLB has reviewed this rezone request with the Anchorage School District, ASD, confirming that there are no plans to expand the Girdwood K-8 school into the subject land, and that the ASD will have opportunity to review and comment on these development plans throughout the process. And whereas based on community interest and with the developer's approval, the HLB suggested to the following special limitation to rezone, which if adopted would be reflected in the phase 1 plat: 50-foot buffer from the edge of the ASD parcel line to protect the Athabascan Trail, which runs through the back of the ASD property, 50-foot buffer from the center line of the Iditarod National Historic Trail, which runs along the bank of Glacier Creek. Whereas this action has been recommended by the Gerdwood Land Use Committee, 10 in favor, 0 opposed, and 9 abstaining at their regular meeting on November 8th, 2021. Therefore, the Gerdwood Board of Supervisors resolves support for HLB rezone of approximately 6.6 acres of land from GIP to GC3 with 50-foot buffers to protect the Iditarod National Historic Trail and Athabascan Trail in order to maximize the potential to provide land available for attainable housing development in the new development. Passed and approved by a vote of XX to this 15th day of November 2021. Mike Edgington, Land Use Supervisor, GBOS.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? I'm looking for a second for this motion.
I'll second.
Thanks, Jennifer. Now we can move on to formal discussion. So Guy, I see your hand up, and then Shelley.
My bad, Mike.
Oh, okay. Shelley, did you have a further comment?
Just a technical comment in the last, in the therefore, it should be GR3. I don't know how,
Oh, yes.
Margaret, I missed that one.
We'll consider that a scrivener's error, and we won't vote on that as an amendment.
We'll get it fixed.
So we should read that as GR3. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? Just have one quick comment. I mean, we have discussed that. I saw this went through land use. There was quite an extensive discussion at land use, and it was widely supported. Although there were quite a few people abstaining on it as well. Personally, I had concerns about the impact on Athabascan Trail as I walked through that area. The trail in the section where the housing is going, the trail is actually, the main trail is further south. There is a kind of social trail which goes along alongside the tract, but the main trail is definitely quite a bit further south. So my concerns were relieved a little bit when I visited the area and walked through it. And I think the 50-foot buffer is a very useful addition. Okay, so I see your hand's still up, Shelley. Then we have Brett and Jerry. So did you have another comment, Shelley? From last time. Okay, so Brett Wilbanks, please go ahead.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Mike. And I haven't had a chance to walk it, but I guess I'd make the comment again that was made in Land Use Committee. If there's any opportunity to extend the Athabascan Trail into the Iditarod Trail through what it's not described what the parcel is, sort of the disconnect between the dash lines, but is this our opportunity to trade Gerdwood park space for residential lot types so that this can be developed? Is this the time to ask that we somehow enshrine or hope to get those trails connected so that we can expand our trail system easily in the future? Is this a good time to ask for that? And thank you.
Actually, if you could we go back to the map? Because I think there is a question there about where that tract actually lives relative to the project.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Thanks.
You go to Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment, and it's to Shelley. So this land has not, this doesn't involve the item for tonight, which is the rezone, but the development itself has not been conveyed to the developer yet, correct? And could you go through the process of how the community will have input in the future on this development? Thanks.
Sure, no problem. First, let me address the map really quick. It's an easy answer. You can see where the Athabascan Trail is on the other side of the road. If you follow that property line straight across, that continues to be ASD property. So I would recommend that the Gerdwood Trails Committee work with ASD to make that connection. Moving on to Jerry's question. No, we have not conveyed it yet. We reached agreement on terms last Wednesday. We should have a development agreement in the next few days to negotiate and run through our legal counsels. So we will have to go to HLBAC. Then we will have to go to the assembly for approval to dispose of the tracks. We will subordinate these tracks much in the same way that the North Point development was done in Government Hill with Jaguar Development and ACDA years ago. What that means is, although we're a partner in this development, it's not actually being sold. It's being conveyed so that the developer can obtain development financing. That's kind of how that works. So commenting on the development itself, you will have opportunity at the planning and zoning. Connie, actually, you probably know your PUD CUP process better than I do at this point. The rezone, I will tell you guys, of course, you will get to see it again at P&Z and at the assembly. But as far as the subdivision itself, I'm going to let Connie or Charlotte talk you through their timeline and what meetings they have.
Well, we will need the support of all of the committees that we have been participating in since being awarded the RFP. So the Imagine Girdwood, the Housing Committee, obviously the Girdwood Board of Supervisors, we will be to all of you again once we move from the schematic to an actual preliminary plat. And we won't be able to do this project without the support, really, of the community. We will then ultimately, after we've been through all of those committees, we will be going to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval for the planned unit development, which is what this is called because of the mixed density. And we will be doing it under a conditional use permit. And so the final authority for this development will rest with the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you for explaining the process. I just had one quick question, which, sorry, Jerry, did you have a follow-up?
No, I was just going to say thanks.
All right, thank you. I did one thing. I'm a little confused by the map now. I see two boundaries on the southern edge, which in the way this is orientated means to the sort of left lower corner. I see a solid line, which is the boundary between the white area and the light green. And then I see a dashed line, which goes just to the north of the Athabascan Trail and the southern edge of AWU Tract. Can you clarify which of those is the boundary for HLB land and which of those is the boundary for the project area? That's a question.
Yeah, I think there's, I mean, I think that this isn't completely accurate because the property line should be up against the AWU tract. So, yeah, the property line is against the AWU tract because the Athabascan Trail itself falls completely on ASD property. So, yes, the green color and that line is not exactly correct.
Okay, so as the map is drawn here, we would, sorry, please, Connie, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, it does happen with concept drawings. This is systematic. A relative opportunity. We are in the process of awarding a bid for a survey, and so that survey will clarify a lot of those issues or lines, I guess I would say.
Okay, so there might be some confusion here if it looks as if we're changing the zoning for the location of the Athabascan Trail itself, and that is not what we're talking about tonight.
Correct. Kyle, I'm going to share a map really quickly if I can.
Okay.
Get out. Try it again. Let's
Here we go.
No, map it. Okay. Maybe. Come on. Here. Okay, do you guys see a map?
I do now, yes.
Awesome. So let me zoom out just a little bit. Okay, so it's a little bit difficult with the trees and such. Let me just switch to a map without the trees so you can see. So this is the parcel we're talking about here, right? And this is that intersection. So the lines you see here are easements. And let me highlight. So the blue line is the parcel line, right? That is the utility easement. So you see it's up against the parcel line. So
Understood,
so when you go back to the other drawing, that shaded area is extended too far.
Okay, so the area where the Athabascan Trail is marked, although it's shaded green, that's not actually going to change zoning. It's the area to the north, or on the orientation of the map to the right of that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Thanks.
I see Brett's hand up. I don't know if that's from previously or whether that's another request. And Crystal, did you have another question, Brett?
No, that's not me.
Okay, thanks. I'll just put your hand down. And then Crystal.
I guess I just want to make sure that I answered or have clarification on the zoning. The section or the map that's in the packet, which has the red line around all of that GIP. I just wanted to confirm, one, the zoning wouldn't go through unless the plan as a whole was approved. Am I understanding that correctly, or will the zoning happen regardless of if the plan got approved in the future?
Correct. The zoning is a completely separate action.
So it would happen first?
Regardless. Yes. Well, no, actually, because the rezone is a longer process, it's entirely possible that Connie's team will beat me through their process. Because I have to go to the assembly and she does not. So they may be.
And then So I guess I got a little confused when, you know, and I remember this from Cabana's presentation where you can't cross zoning lines in a lot or a parcel. So the way that it looks like on the map that was provided in the packet looks like that whole section would be rezoned GR3 as opposed to just the 6.5 acres that I thought that we were talking about. So, because if it's the whole section of GIP being rezoned GR3, I have serious concerns about that.
Kyle, can you share the map that's in the packet?
Yes.
It is the 6.5 acres that is on the HLB lot. It's all of the GIP acres. Right. It doesn't affect any other property, no ASD property, no open space.
But how big is that area that's in red? That like what on the packet map? Yeah, that's the packet map. How big is that area in red?
We scroll down because it does have acreages. Somewhere it has acreages. I thought it did. Maybe it's higher. Sorry.
No problem.
Or no, there we go. So it is 6.6 acres.
That's how big that parcel there is
That-
on that map?
Yes, that
I would think
GIP
that
area.
would be much larger than that, but
It's not.
okay. All right. I'll because nobody else has brought it up. I think it's disappointing that we're losing Gerdwood institutions and parks because that is an asset that there's not very much of in Gerdwood. And although I do see the absolute need for attainable housing, so I would support it in that regard, especially if it's only 6.5 acres. For a minute there, I was thinking that a larger parcel that was GIP, it was going to be all converted to GR3. So knowing that that's not going to happen, I'm okay with that. But I am sad that the GIP is not being replaced with additional land that is now zoned GOS could be rezoned GIP, and I would have wished that would have happened simultaneously, but it sounds like that's not an offer from HLB.
No, and things that are zoned GOS, if you read the code, they're zoned GOS because they are generally undevelopable. So to rezone it GIP wouldn't make it any more developable. I don't think that that's the solution. So anyway, if the time comes that we need GIP, yeah, okay. If the time comes that they can, go ahead.
The example as to why it would be helpful is if Gerdwood has expressed the need for a rec center, for instance, and a rec center more likely would be on GIP, most likely would be on GIP. So we're losing developable GIP land, and it's not being suggested that it be replaced anywhere else. So that's, I guess, the point that I'm trying to get across.
Hi, Kyle, can you go to the use table? Rezoning this land to GR3 does not remove the possibility that it be used for community. Sorry, I can't. That's tiny. Oh, goodness.
So I think under community buildings and uses.
Community buildings and uses.
It's under a master plan model.
Yes. So it does not.
Guess to your,
I think
just to go one step further.
Mm-hmm.
So, Crystal, I think we may be going a long way into the detail here beyond where we need to for this particular action. But
okay,
if you just want to make your point briefly.
Yeah, well, okay. So one last comment would be the community garden issue. For instance, we have been charged with trying to change the code to allow community garden to occur on GIP, and so now we're losing additional GIP. So I think it's valuable, and I wish it would be a little bit more of the conversation as to what we're giving up. But I do understand the need for attainable housing specifically. So thank you. That's all I'll say.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Okay, any other comments from the board or community? If not, we will move to a roll call vote. So we have the motion to approve the resolution in front of us with the one technical amendment or one technical scrivener's error. Okay, can you do a roll call, please?
Yeah, Mike Edgington,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Amanda Sassy,
Yes.
Guy Wade,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to do one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Sharon.
Mike, I'm sorry. Can I
Thanks, Connie.
interrupt you really quick?
Yes.
I should have done this during public comment, but everybody, we will be releasing the 2022 work program later this week. So be on the lookout for that. I completely reformatted it in the last 24 hours. And there's some good stuff in there. So be on the lookout and comment often. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Connie, as well.
All right.
We will move on. We have a very busy agenda tonight, and time is getting on, so we're going to move on fairly quickly to item number 7, proposed changes to GBOS rules and procedures to allow virtual, hybrid, or in-person meetings regardless of public health emergency status. Jennifer, you were taking a look at this.
I was, and things got complicated last week. So I don't actually have anything to present if you wanted to talk about the things you found about the assembly language, but otherwise I can try to work something up to present next time.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just speak briefly to this. So on the October the 28th assembly meeting, they passed an ordinance to change code in Title 4, I think it is, explicitly to allow in-person and remote meetings for boards and commissions, which includes boards of supervisors or board of supervisors, boards of supervisors. Anyway, so there is actually some code, some new code, some new language in code, and I had a quick. It was amended during the meeting, and the actual formal amended ordinance only came out this afternoon. So I took a quick look at it, and I think we can pretty much adopt the language directly. We'll just have to make 1 or 2 small changes, but that might actually be the most straightforward approach. But what we will do is it only came out this afternoon, so we haven't really had a chance to look at it properly. So I think what I will have with Jennifer, we'll take a quick look at that language, and if it looks suitable, we'll just basically propose that goes into our rules and procedures. That probably is the most straightforward, since then the code will align with our rules and procedures. But we're not going to do that today. It's obviously we don't have enough time to do that and share it with everybody and then discuss it. Any other questions or comments on this from the board or from the public? Brianna, did you have something to say? I see you came off mute.
Yes, thanks. Real quick. Thank you, Jennifer and Mike, for your work on that. I look forward to more. Thanks.
Thank you. Not seeing any other comments. Let's move on to item number 8, which is Gerdwood Valley Service Area Budget Determination of Grant Awards for GVSA Nonprofit Recreation Grants. And then we have a list of the applicants here. So we'll hand this over to staff to explain the process.
Yeah, Margaret, do you want me to take it, or do you want to talk to it? I will handle it. I'm going to pull up a formula here, but this is where the Board of Supervisors gives us their determination for award, and then we will plop it into our spreadsheet here, which then will produce an average for it. And so let me pull that up real quick so you can see it. It's coming. Okay, so in front of you here is the formula. We have a total of 35,000 available for the grantees who've applied. And we have received grants from Little Bears. Their initial request was $10,000, from Challenge, $10,000, from Art Camp, $5,600, from KUL, 8,000, and from Gerdwood Valley Transit, 6,000. When you add all those requests that they put forward, it equals $39,600. So that's more than is budgeted for the nonprofit grants for 22. And so what we requested of the board members was to give us their recommended amounts that added up to 35,000 for each of the grant requests. And then we'll plug that into the formula here and come up with the final grant amounts for this year. So if Mike, if you like to run it, I can sit here and I can plug people's numbers in as they call it out, and we'll see what we get for totals.
Sure, we'll do that. So first of all, I just want to say it's always this is actually one of the more fun things we do during the course of the year. It's always great to hear the ideas and the projects which the nonprofits are putting forward, and it's hard when they're asking for more money than we have to allocate. But I wish we could allocate it all, but that's not the position we're in. So having said that, I will jump straight into my numbers. So in order: Little Bears 10,000, Challenge 6,400, Art Camp 5,600, KUEL 7,000, and GBT 6,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Guy, do you have your numbers? I'm not hearing you, Guy. I think you're still on mute.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
You're right. This is a tough decision because it is so, you know, all these organizations are so important to our community. I kind of looked at partially the amount of the grant, the percentage of the grant was used to fund the entire project, and looked at it in that light. And so my numbers are: Little Bears 9,200, Gerdwood Valley Transit 5,000.
Oh, excuse me.
Radio 6,700.
Sorry, Guy.
The radio 6,700.
6,700.
Challenge 8,500.
Okay.
And the Art Institute 5,600.
Okay.
Thank you, Guy. If I think it would be easier for Kyle if we stick to the order that's on the screen. I know that's not probably the order we've been working with. It wasn't the order I worked with, but if we could stick to that, that'd make it easier for entering the numbers. Thanks, Guy. Jennifer, please go ahead.
Okay, I have, yeah, I would agree. This was some tough decision making. I found myself also focusing on who might have been the most heavily affected under COVID. But at any rate, my numbers: Little Bears 10. Let's see, sorry, Challenge 8,000. Art Camp 5,500. KUL 5,500. Glacier Valley Transit 5,500.
Looks like we're 500 short. Am I missing a number?
Am I missing a number? Sorry, let me double check. Yeah, I did read it wrong because I read GBT and KUL. Let me do KUL at 6, please.
6. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Brianna.
Thank you. Everyone so far has stated exactly how we've all been feeling to put numbers on paper and in the spreadsheet. So thank you to all the applicants as well. For Little Bears, I have 10,000. For Challenge, 8,000. Art Camp, 5,000. KEUL, 6,000. And GVT, 6,000.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. And Amanda.
Yes, I have, let's see here, Little Bears 9,000, Challenge 9,000, Art Institute 5,000, the Community Club 6,000, and GVT 6,000. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like the totals for Little Bears is their grant total is 9640, Challenge 7980, Art Camp 5340, KUL 6340, and then GVT 5700. So if the board could just put that into a motion and vote on it, that'd be great.
Thanks. So would anyone like to make a motion and then to list those amounts explicitly in the motion?
Yeah, Mike, I can do that.
Please go ahead, Guy.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the amounts calculated for Little Bears is 9640. Challenge Alaska. Can you make that a little bigger?
Yeah, I'll try to. Let me see what I can do.
On the bottom right there.
Oh, that's right. There it is.
Perfect. Challenge Alaska, 7,980. Art Camp, 5,340. KEUL, 6,340. Gerdwood Valley Transit, 5,700. Making a total of $35,000.
Thank you, Guy. Do I hear a second?
This is Brianna. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Brianna. Any further discussion from the board or members of the public? Okay, I'm not seeing.
Mike?
Please go ahead. Go ahead, Guy.
I just had a question. I believe the funding last year was 35,000 as well. How long has it been at that level? Or maybe Kyle can answer that.
I believe this is the 3rd year. It may be the 4th year. So we moved to fixed funding of 4 Valleys, I think 4 years ago, and then we increased the funding for both 4 Valleys. It was 30,000 when we first had a fixed funding for 4 Valleys. We had 20,000 for 4 Valleys and 30,000 for the other non-profits, and then I think it was 3 years ago when we increased that by 5,000 in both categories. So we moved up to 35. Maybe staff can confirm. I think this is the 3rd year we've used 35,000.
Yeah, you're right. It's the 3rd year.
My memory has not failed me yet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Guy. So we have a motion in front of us in a second, and I think we have discussed. So I would suggest we do the roll call.
Okay. Mike Edgington?
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan?
Yes.
Amanda Sassy?
Yes.
Guy Wade?
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. And I think we hand in our sheets at the end of the meeting to Margaret, which are needed for other processing.
Yes, you can get them to us by the end of the week. That'd be great.
Okay, great. Margaret, you have your hand up. Was that the point you were going to make?
Nope, I was moving on. I didn't want us to forget that we need a similar motion to approve the hard funding for, thank you.
Thank you for that. I would have forgotten. So yes, I would also entertain a motion for the fixed funding of $25,000 for Four Valleys Community School.
So moved. This is Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I would second it. I did mention a possible conflict of interest at the beginning of the meeting, so I don't know if I need to recuse from this vote or not.
I wasn't actually thinking about this specific vote when I made the ruling earlier. I think in light of, although this is we're just deciding yes or no and the amount is fixed, I think in light of the circumstances, it probably does make sense for you to sit out this particular vote, Guy.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, I will second this.
Sorry.
Thank you,
Go
Maddie.
ahead, Jen. Okay.
Okay, sorry, Jen, did you have a comment?
No, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it's so we have the motion of Four Valleys Community School funding of 25,000 moved and seconded, and unless there's any further discussion, actually I do see Margaret's hand up. Margaret, do you have a further comment?
No, I'm just having trouble. Thank you.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. I think we've had discussion. So and Guy will not be voting in this particular case. So can we have the roll call, please, Kyle?
Yes. Mike Edgington?
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan?
Yes.
Amanda Sassy?
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So welcome back to the room, Guy. You can join us. Okay. So again, thanks to everyone, and thank you very much to the non-profits for all the work you do. So we will now move on to item number 9, discuss status of the Municipality of Anchorage GBSA 2022 budget, in particular area-wide EMS contribution shortfall and the Mayor's proposed budget, alcohol tax allocation for Gerdwood service providers, and the GBT funding of 20,000 per year, which we actually heard a comment on from the Mayor's office earlier this evening, and from the Mayor himself at last week's Assembly meeting. Okay, does anybody want to take this? If not, I will. Okay, so I think these are the main items of concern. There's a few small issues in the budget which just some numbers don't quite match, but they're very, very close. But overall, I think these are the major concerns. GVT funding, I think we've definitely got a commitment from the Mayor to when they propose the S version, so the amended version, it will contain $20,000 of funding for GVT. I testified at the Assembly last week, and we actually have a resolution from earlier this year to fund the EMS contribution at $507,500. And I also requested that be put into the budget as a line item. It is not currently a line item, which causes some problems because we have to sort of get AFD to tell us what amount they're going to spend, and it doesn't have a great deal of visibility. So it's not that we can point to a resolution and say that is the number. So I hope that there will be an amendment from, I believe, our Assembly member to increase the funding back to 507,500. It is currently 382,500 in the Mayor's proposed budget. We may actually see that his amended budget contains the right number as well. And the alcohol tax allocation, I'm not sure if that's strictly a budget item or that's sort of below the budget and how the allocation is actually done. I actually don't understand the details there. So any thoughts and comments from the board? Guy?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Concerning the EMS budget, I know people have weighed in with the Assembly members and the Assembly to let them know that those numbers were below for 2022. What we're currently budgeted for, or for the 507. Have we written, would it help if we, as a board, written the assembly concerning this, put a letter together as a united front to help support this, or we just let the vote, we just see what happens and then address it from there.
I think we could definitely, I mean, if you want to move that we either write a resolution, we have a resolution from the first quarter budget revisions, which we could probably, it actually does talk about future contracts and future years. So I thought that almost stands up by itself. We could definitely update that or write a letter. I think either of them works if somebody wants to move that.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that we do either update the existing, the letter from the first quarter, I think is what you said, or write a new letter in support of the full funding for the EMS that is requested.
Right. For staff's purposes, it was resolution 2021-09 was the one we passed at the beginning of for the first quarter budget revisions. I think with a resolution, I think we're all voting on the exact language. So I don't know if it really has any strength, but any more strength than a letter. But I think it's easier to make the argument that all of us, everyone on the board agrees.
Mike?
Yes, Scott?
Maybe suggest that the board considers a letter and we can include that resolution with it since we don't have a resolution in front of you right now to consider. But
that makes sense. That makes sense.
I could take the task of writing a letter and we can work with him to help produce that and include the resolution with it.
That makes sense. The resolution does talk about maintaining that funding in future budgets. So the resolution effectively covers what we're talking about. I agree. A letter to just update it makes sense. Did you have another comment, Guy?
No, thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Brianna?
I would second Guy's motion.
So could you just clarify it since we've had that discussion? What's the exact motion?
That as a board, we write a letter to the municipality stating that we do support the full funding of the $507,000 for EMS going forward. And we'll use the resolution from the first quarter, attach that to the letter as well.
Okay, great. Are you happy with seconding that, Brianna?
I am.
Excellent. Okay, any further discussion from the board or from the community? I am not seeing any hands, so I think we can move directly to a vote.
Mike Edgington?
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan?
Yes.
Amanda Sassy?
Yes.
Guy Wade?
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, so that was on the first point on the area-wide EMS contributions. We still have the question about the alcohol tax allocation. Can anyone speak to this?
I could probably give an update. It sounds like Tommy O'Malley has been in contact with John Wellerton and even Forrest Dunbar, and they have a work session coming up on it, and they're going to try to address the concerns raised by the Public Safety Advisory Committee and see if they can have funding definitely for officer training for mental health crises, and see what they can do to get more support for Gerdwood in the long run. So it sounds like they're going to work through it, and Tommy O'Malley from the Public Safety Advisory Committee is kind of bird dogging it.
Okay, do we need to perform any formal action tonight. If anyone has a motion, we can discuss that. Guy?
Yeah, I was curious. You know, the article came out in ADN about the funding allocation. Do we know any more details about it, specifics, or are we just kind of working off of the article in ADN?
I have no details to report.
So the process is that the actual budget is decided by the Assembly. So the mayor proposes a budget, the Assembly changes it, and then votes on it. And then the mayor can veto, and the Assembly in principle can override that veto if they have enough votes to do so. So unfortunately, John did join the meeting. John Weddleton joined the meeting for a little while, but had to leave. And our other Assembly member gave her excuses and was not able to make it this evening. So we can't get more detail directly from the Assembly, but there is a work session, I believe, later this week. I don't have the date in front of me, on the budget, where this will be sort of hashed out in detail. And I know that, you know, how the alcohol tax is allocated is definitely a major topic, and we have had discussions about how that happens in Gerdwood, or how we can get hold of it. I think that was a concern about it being passed through the police department, because the police explicitly does not have any service in Gerdwood. Okay, I see Michelle with you. Sorry, Guy, if you had another.
Oh, just on that topic, I assume Tommy's going to bird dog this, and you know, let me know if you need another body there, or you know, somebody else to do that. But I'm guessing right now that Tommy's will keep us abreast of any details.
Yeah, definitely our Assembly members are aware of the issue. Chief Weston.
I just wanted to mention when the Assembly work session does happen, I would love to be able to comment that there are a need for mental health services in Gerdwood, as a person who sees this. And then additionally, what I know from the budget item was that the funding that was there for the core team at AFD for the positions, that line item is zeroed out in the 2020 budget, and then that funding is reallocated to the police department. So that's how it's moved from the budget. Is it appears in the police budget, it disappears from the fire budget.
Thank you for that clarification. Jennifer?
Yeah, actually dovetailing on what Chief Weston just said, what I've noticed about some of the debates I've seen developing around this budget is that people in Anchorage are very much focused on that exact piece, the piece about whether or not the funding belongs in AFD or the police department. And the reason why I brought it up earlier, I wanted to have the maximum number of people in Gerdwood knowing about it. And again, I would say now that our concern is very different around this and might provide a way that is not just couched in politics, but because for us, this is more of a financial consideration. It might actually benefit more than just Gerdwood to find a way to talk about this that isn't all either favoring APD or the fire department, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Chief Weston?
My only comment on that would be area-wide EMS is an area-wide service. So when it was housed in the fire department and staffed with a social worker and a paramedic, you know, those are sort of area. That's, you know, there's an extension of EMS. When it switches to a police dispatcher position or whatever, however it moves over to police, those positions will disappear from fire and will appear over in the police budget, which is of course outside of our police service area.
Yeah, I think that's one of the concerns about how it, if it gets channeled through a department with a service area which does not include Gerdwood, it is harder for us to, it is sometimes harder for us to access the money. Not necessarily impossible, but it can be harder. And it definitely is not first thought for that department if we're not part of the service area. Okay, are there any other comments or potential motions or anything else to act on this item?
This is Brianna.
Brianna.
I have just real, hopefully quick clarification from the Public Safety Advisory Committee's last meeting. Jennifer agreed to write a letter, and then, well, a letter, do we need to do any writing, do you think, Jennifer? Or is it more in the scope of Public Safety Advisory?
Well, actually, Public Safety did ask us to write a letter. They very much want GBOS to write a letter, and there are possible things that we could add that their letter did not. That would be a motion item if we are comfortable doing that at the scene.
I would like to move that GBOS writes a letter regarding the alcohol tax allocation for Gerdwood service providers and residents.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion. So what are we actually being asked to do in terms of add to the letter? I'm just reading the letter now, or rereading it. Is it clear what we need to do in addition to this letter?
Well, I had a question about it. They make an ask about, I'm not quite there, but they make an ask about the specific amounts of the tax, and we didn't, in their letter, they didn't back it up. And I thought that number seems a little random percentage that we're asking for. There were justifications for it in the emails going back and forth, but they didn't make it into the final letter. And so one option for GBOS would be to include why we're asking for X percentage.
Okay. Do we have a volunteer for coordinating this letter?
I'm happy to help with it. This is Brianna.
I can too.
Okay. So is there any more discussion? I think if it's clear, it's not entirely clear to me what we are going to be asked to, what we're asked to do beyond the letter that's already been written. But I think it's completely fair to reiterate those points, maybe summarize it, and just point out our concerns.
Agreed.
So if Brianna and Jennifer, if you're comfortable with doing that, I'm comfortable with you making those points.
Oh yeah, we've already figured out we're a mad editing team, so I think we've got this.
Yes. Okay. If there's no more discussion, then let's move to a vote on that motion. So the motion is to write a letter, basically reiterating the points from the from the PSEC letter to the Assembly, to be coordinated by Brianna and Jennifer, with help from others as needed.
Okay. Mike Edgington?
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan?
Yes.
Amanda Sassy?
Yes.
Guy Wade?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, any more items or any more issues to discuss on item 9? If not, I would entertain a motion to extend our meeting beyond 10 o'clock.
So moved, Brianna.
Could you give a specific time?
Yes, thanks. I move to extend our meeting to 10:30.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thanks, Guy. It's just, I think we have to roll call this, so roll call, please, unless there's any discussion. I don't see any discussion. Roll call, please, Kyle.
Mike Edgington.
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan.
Yes.
Amanda Sassy.
Yes.
Guy Wade.
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Motion to extend passes.
Thank you. We are now on to new business, item 10, agenda item LUC 211104. Discuss agenda topics for GBOS LUC joint meeting on December the 20th at 6 p.m. So far, the topics are the status of hybrid virtual in-person meetings and the requirements to move items from new to old business.
Yeah, if you guys have anything to add to this, you can do this now. We will see it again next month and you can add final things there.
Will we actually see it next month? We won't.
We will not see it next month. I just looked at that. No, this will be right before your next meeting. So if you have anything to add, please add them now.
Unless we touch this on our special meeting at the end of this month.
Yes, we could talk about it then. So maybe we'll add it to that special meeting as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way we should go. Anything anybody wants to add to the agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, and LUC will have the opportunity to look at this again as well.
Correct.
Okay, item number 11, LUC 2111-07. U.S. Department of Agriculture, U.S. Forest Service, request for LUC recommendation of a GBOS resolution of support for the USDA USFS acquisition of 8.05 acres of land at 144 Forestation Road, which is currently leased from HLB. Do we have, I think Tim Sharman was earlier.
And I still am.
Are you doing this? Excellent. Are you going to do this? Take this for us, Tim?
Yes, thank you, Mike. Thank you, members of the board. My name is Tim Sharnan. I'm the district ranger for the Forest Service. I work on the Glacier Ranger District, one of 3 districts on the Chugach National Forest, one of the most beautiful national forests that I have the privilege of helping steward the land and resources for and trust to the American people. The new business being presented is that I'm seeking a motion of support for the Forest Service to acquire our ranger station land, which we currently lease from HLB. A little bit of background, the Chugach National Forest has been here for over 100 years. It extends from basically the boundary of Gerdwood down to Seward and over to Valdez and Cordova. Our mission in the Forest Service is to care for the land and serve the people. About 30 years ago, we made a really important decision that Chugach National Forest did in serving people and caring for the land. And that was in our decision to move from an Anchorage office down to Gerdwood. It was in 1988 that the Forest Service moved to Gerdwood and occupied the site of the former Gerdwood School. And we have been there since that time under a lease arrangement with HLB. The reason that we made that strategic decision to come to Gerdwood is that it brought the Forest Service resource managers and the Forest Service decision makers closer to the resources and closer to the communities that we serve. And we feel that it is very important for us going forward to continue that presence in the community so that we can keep investing in programs and projects that are important to the community. Our lease is expiring in 2023, And although we could seek another lease arrangement with HLB, we feel like a better long-term investment for both the Forest Service and the community would be to purchase the land from HLB so that we're able to better invest in the site. We've outgrown the site. Our staff has outgrown the site, specifically our seasonal resource staff. We would like to make some investments in that site, which we are currently not able to because the land is leased. In going forward, we feel like we are in a tremendous position to continue to manage the forest in service to the community. Just highlight a couple of examples of that. One of the reasons why it's important for us to continue to be in the community is so that we can continue to support the businesses that rely on the forest to provide their livelihood. The Forest Service, the Glacier Ranger District, our station supports over 50 businesses on the National Forest, many of them right here in Girdwood. Alpine Air, Chugach Adventure Guides, Ascending Path, Alaska Guide Collective, Alaska Wild Guides, Glacier City Snowmobiles. All those businesses are managed with special use permit under to provide access to the Chugach National Forest. It's so important for us to be in this community and serving those businesses, and so that we're able to make good decisions about how to support them. The other advantage of continuing to be in the community is that we can continue to invest in the community. The Forest Service has the privilege and the responsibility of stewarding federal resources towards resource projects that not only sustain wildlife and resource populations across the forest, but invest in infrastructure that's important to the community. And an example of that is the investment that the Forest Service is making in the trails infrastructure that complements the goals of the Gerdwood Trails Committee, Alyeska Resort, the Gerdwood Mountain Bike Alliance, and some of the other efforts at building sustainable trails in our area. So I will pause for any questions. I understand this is new business, but we are very excited to continue our presence in the Gerdwood community for the long haul, for as long as the forest has been here. And we're hoping to do so with the acquisition of the ranger station.
Thank you very much, Tim. Much appreciated. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah. Tim, this is Guy. I just
okay. Please go ahead.
If we move this, forward into old business, I assume you probably have some maps or something that we could share with the community to show your exact footprint and possible plans for future facilities there.
Absolutely. I'd be glad to come back to the board with some plat maps and more detail about future investments that the Forest Service would like to make at the site.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, not seeing any hands. We'll move to the community. Brett, please go ahead.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Mike. I just wanted to make sure that as this moves into maybe further discussions as old business, that a few things get placed on the record. I was sort of curious about this arrangement when it came through LUC. So I did a little looking, and the Forest Service budget for 2020 was $21 million. So that being said, the other thing that I learned was that the 30-year lease that the Forest Service got into was for $1, which was paid to the railroad. So for the last 30 years, I understand that has been effectively rent-free. And I wanted to make sure that as a community, we discuss what sort of benefit that does bring to the community by disposing of this land for less than apparent fair market value to the Forest Service. So I don't believe that with that kind of budget, we should look at disposing our public land wholesale. We might, in fact, given the numbers that I learned in the LUC, would be poised to make twice as much money by leasing it with a 20-year lease certain as described by the HLB manager. So I would like to hear more from the community as to what the perceived benefits are by the proposed developments the Forest Service would make on the land if they owned it outright, because those housing units that sit there today are empty. So I just throw those things out for the record and would enjoy further discussion of those items. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. I think it's definitely very useful to understand when you say the benefit to the community, what community is benefiting, where the money is going. So my understanding is that if there was a lease being paid, it would be going to HLB and therefore to the Muni. Being a federal facility, if it was owned, they would not be paying property taxes. They would be paying PILT, which is, I think, payments in lieu of taxes, which also goes into the area-wide fund. So it's also into the broader municipality. I don't think there's any mechanism in which the money or the value of any buildings would directly benefit the service area. If it was a private development, it would, but and I think the same with the sale. If the sale of the property would go to HLB, which would effectively be in the HLB fund. So it's just what the term community is within the context of Girdwood Valley Service Area. We mean community in municipality wide, not GVSA. Actually, if you're still here, I was going to ask Shelley if Shelley is still here, could you just, if I said anything wrong there, could you just clarify? And then we'll go back to Brett.
You did not, but HLB is going to have to make a significant investment in Holton Hills offsite infrastructure and Alyeska Village infrastructure in coming years. So we have to find ways to fund that because we are not tax supported. We haven't received a penny of taxes since 1983. So as you know, we fund a lot of things in Gerdwood, and this is one way that we do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Brett, you had another comment, I believe.
Yeah, plenty of things to unpack there. Given HLB's substantial, I guess, resources that they could leverage on, but it would beg the question why the property would be disposed at what appears to be significantly less than market value. And the other comment I would make is that with the current agreement with the Forest Service, it could easily be extended for another 20-year lease at market rates, which would provide twice the amount of revenue to the municipality as proposed by just disposing it for $1 million for 8 acres. So if the whole goal is to generate more revenue on the land holdings in order to invest into further development in the valley, why we're walking away from twice as much revenue as could be garnered for that future development, okay, for that future infrastructure investment. So at face value, I'm still struggling to appreciate the business case as it's laid out. And I would also comment, Mike, that as those revenues go to the muni coffers under HLB disposition of land or lease or whatever it is, as that money goes into the muni, we as a community do enjoy some of that administrative overhead, right? Planning and zoning and other administrative things that we enjoy because the municipality makes money on this. So as far as a benefit to the community, I think that if we're going to participate in the municipality as a whole with the city, that we appreciate those benefits that they do bring, and that we should not step on a penny to watch a dollar blow by. So with that, I'll leave the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, I take your point about the about we are absolutely part of the muni and we do benefit from funding at area wide. We it's just obviously at a much lower percentage than we do if it was money going directly into the service area, or even if it was increasing property tax in the service area. I think we're 1.5% of the population of the muni, and depending how you do the calculation, we're probably 2 or 3% of the area wide funds get spent here. That's obviously a lot less than the percentage it would be if it was muni wide. Shelley, you have your hand up. And actually, before you say something, can I just ask a question? I knew there were some numbers mentioned at the LUC meeting, and Brett just quoted some numbers, the amounts. Are they the actual numbers that are going to be used? Is that the sale price?
No, that was inaccurate. Sale price hasn't been determined. I have an appraisal. You have to remember that this is GIP land. And you've seen the propensity to approve a rezone on that, or the resistance, the hesitation, and the appraisal came in at 1.622. The federal government is obtaining their own appraisal, which is standard, and then we will reconcile the two numbers, as is common practice. Also, the railroad had nothing to do with the lease. There was a one-time payment of $50,000, and anecdotally, my understanding is that it went to the state.
Okay, thank you. So,
what I was gonna say, you threw out a couple of numbers about percentages, and I would say that 50% of our land is in Gerdwood, and I would say we spend at least 50% of our fund money in Gerdwood, probably closer to 75%.
My numbers were relating to area-wide funding from the muni, not HLB.
Right, but I'm just saying,
very approximate. I wouldn't quote my quotes.
I'm just saying that HLB does invest heavily in our land in the Gerdwood area. So, yeah.
Okay. Tim, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mike. Brett, I think those are excellent questions. One thing I would like to highlight for the group, though, is regardless of whether the land is purchased or leased, under either scenario, it will be at fair market value. The original lease was negotiated because the HLB saw the value in having the Forest Service Ranger Station in the community for some of the benefits to the community that I highlighted. In going forward, whether the sale is outright to the Forest Service or whether a lease continues, it would be at fair market rates under either condition. The value, I think, to the community, again, of purchase, is that if we continue to lease the property, it will be at fair market value, but we will not be able to invest in the site as we would as if we know that we're going to be here for the long haul. And I'll be glad to highlight more of those investments as requested, including additional investments in the trail structure in the both on the site and in the community, in our shared vision of completion of the Iditarod National Historic Trail.
Thank you. I think this is in new business, so I think we discussed the principles and the idea to some length. What are the next steps? When do we expect this to come before LUC or GBOS again? If somebody could speak to that, either Tim or Shelley. I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, Mike, I could use some help from Kyle or Margaret on the LUC and the Board of Supervisors next steps.
Well, if the petitioners are ready for it to be considered, we can have it for next month. I don't know. Sometimes what we have is there's a review process and then it comes back to us, but it sounds like it's ready to go. We'll just have it next month, and it'll be an old business and available for consideration for action.
Okay, thank you. Margaret?
No, I just wanted to bring your attention to Shelley's comment in the chat saying that it seems like they're not exactly sure. So I can read what's in the chat if you'd like, or Shelley, maybe you'd like to speak.
I'm sorry, not exactly sure about what.
When this would be coming in front of us again.
Oh, my comment doesn't have anything to do with that. It's Tim's action. It really is not mine. So whenever your next land use meeting is and your next Gbos meeting, if that is what he wishes to do. Okay,
we might definitely be. I don't know about land use, but at GBOS, I think we would be interested in some understanding of the financials around it. So if we're not going to be in a position to do that when this comes in front of us, I would anticipate some questions.
Okay, I'll just say that you know, there is a long history of confidentiality in municipal real estate deals until deals are closed. That's the standard practice. So, you know, we can disclose appraisal values, but that's about as far as legal will let us go.
Yeah, they're the sort of questions I would anticipate.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I think we've covered this in enough depth for a new business, unless anyone has any more questions from the board or the community. Okay, we will move on to item number 12.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Item number 12, agenda item LUC 2111-08, initial presentation of request for LUC recommendation for GBOS resolution of support for variance for development within the stream protection setback at 515 Vale Drive. Mike Osman. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi. Thanks, Mike. Thanks to the GBOS for making time for us here. Mike Osman and partner Alexander Robinson. We are year-round residents here of Gerdwood, and we're here tonight to just conduct our initial presentation for our intent to obtain the variance from the Title 21 for development in the stream bank setback here on our property. Some of you folks are probably familiar with this property. We purchased it about a year ago, and at that time, GBOS supported the removal of a plat note, which had stipulated pretty antiquated plat note that stipulated this stream easement on the property. The grounds for the GBOS support was that Title 21 actually supported greater protection for the streams while also offering better opportunities for individual landowners to obtain variances in the situations where the protections sort of unfairly affected their ability to develop. So I'll share my screen if that's okay with you all real quick. I've just got an as-built survey at the moment. We're working through the process of getting our formalized site plan drafted up. So this is our most recent as-built that was produced about a month ago now, showing the setbacks from two creeks which affect our property. One nearly bisecting the property here, and the other one at the east end of the property, primarily within the utility easement, but the setback being as extensive as it is impedes our property. The result of the survey showed us that about 75% or maybe even a little more of our property is encumbered by stream bank setbacks, front and side setbacks. This came about, we've been working with a local architecture firm. We have some plans in the works, some hopes at this point for a small addition to our house here. Excuse me. It would basically be, it would be about a small little kind of bump out. And it's roughly about like this. And so we'd be looking for primarily that within the stream bank setback zone as it currently stands. And then as a result of this process of obtaining the variance, it was recommended to us that we make plans for eventual future development and try to consider what other parts of the property we'd like to also possibly have the opportunity for development in the future. So other sections that we will likely be including in our variance application include this portion here in the front so that we could consider that area for development. Likely some I don't know, some configuration in the back here to sort of square off our opportunity for development, just so that we have a little bit more continuity of our developable area. And then this structure here, this is a deck, it's kind of a porch. It's pretty close to the creek. This would actually be removed. We intend to remove this in the future. So we'd be reducing our impact into the setback zone on this part of the parcel here. Our timeline we're working with is, we intend to submit our application for the variance pretty soon, probably in the next couple weeks. And as I mentioned, we're working with local folks to kind of make that process as smooth and efficient as possible. We're hoping to present before the zoning board. They have a meeting February 10th, 2022. So we're hoping that this process is able to basically be resolved around that timeline. And construction on this first edition that I outlined would likely be 2022. We're hoping summer 2022, possibly 2023. With the rest of this potential development somewhere down the line, it's not really set in stone. It's more just to get the process moving forward. So yeah, thanks again for your consideration. We presented the same kind of thing at the land use committee last week, and happy to answer any questions. As I mentioned, we don't have a whole lot of materials to present for you all right now, but certainly open to any comments or suggestions.
Thank you very much, Mike. I do have one question, which is, have you had informal discussions with Watershed Management about this, and what's the sort of feedback you've got from them?
Nope, we haven't had any discussions with them yet. Nope,
Okay.
Yep, that's part of the process. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board or from the community? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So thank you very much for presenting it to us, Mike and Alex, and I look forward to seeing sort of some more specific plans, more detailed plans in the future. And good luck with the application.
Great.
Okay, thanks. We're 9 minutes from the end of the meeting, so I think I would entertain a motion to extend a little bit more. We have 2 more items, which probably we may not be able to get through in 9 minutes.
Mike, I'll move to extend to 10:45.
Thank you, Amanda. Do I hear a second?
I second. This is Brianna.
Okay, I think we have to do this through roll call, so if you can roll call, please, Kyle.
I can help. Kyle's muted.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks,
Mike
Martha.
Edgington,
Yes.
Brianna Sullivan,
Yes.
Amanda Sassy,
Yes.
Guy Wade,
Yes.
Jennifer Wingard.
Yes.
Extension passes 5-0.
Okay. For the next item, I think our original ruling was that nobody is actually recused, but I would prefer for process and for Brianna to chair this section, please, for the next item.
Yes, I will chair for item number 13 on the
Thank you.
agenda. Imagine Gerdwood requests for GBOS resolution of support for applications for assistance through grants and other programs to assist with development of Gerdwood land use plan. Imagine Gerdwood.
Thank you. I am presenting or just letting you guys know that Imagine Gerdwood, the Gerdwood Area Plan Update Committee, is hit kind of a wall with funding. And so we are looking at $160,000+ quote from our consultant to finish the project. That's through the process of getting it through the assembly and hopefully into adoption. So it's the final stretch, but we still got a long ways, and we are looking at a few different funding options. That's why we didn't go with the specifics of just one specific grant we're targeting. But to have this GBOS support, resolution of support, would be very helpful and in some cases necessary, as we are applying as a nonprofit with the Gerdwood Inc. as our financial sponsor to sometimes be in line with the government entity. So the one that we're specifically looking at right now is the actually one that Kyle's going to be applying for, the competitive tourism grant. And that one, the nonprofit has to be aligned with a government entity to apply. And this would just be part of showing that alignment by having this resolution of support for the update to the plan. And I don't really have much else to say about that, so I'll entertain questions, and then if you guys would let me know what you'd like to see besides just a draft resolution at the next meeting, I would appreciate that.
Thank you, Amanda. Is there any sooner deadline than next meeting? Well, I know it's new business, but.
I mean, the competitive tourism grant is the one we're gunning for right now, and that one is on a rolling basis. Okay. And being that we're all volunteers, it's a very slow process to write a federal grant application. So I would love to get it done right now, but honestly, it's probably going to be at least that month of just writing the grant. So we can wait to have this resolution of support till next month's old business, you know, if we got voted to have the support.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of want to throw out there that I want to reiterate that I had concerns about one of the other reports that was done and money was paid for by the Gerdwood community with Imagine Gerdwood study that ended up with a fundamental error in it that still hasn't really been corrected, still stands. And I would like to see that addressed, even if we are looking to outside sources for funding of future studies. That current one is fundamentally flawed, and I am going to have trouble supporting asking for more money or throwing good money after bad, basically, without that being addressed. So I just kind of want to throw that out there so it doesn't come as a surprise.
Could I just ask for clarification on the error that you're talking about, please?
Yes, absolutely. It's the one where the study was done about our housing scenarios, and then an extrapolation was made that didn't take into account market situations, and so that extrapolation really needs to be removed from the report, because right now it's just plain wrong. I haven't been able to find any realtor or anyone who is familiar with our market scenarios who can support it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Answer your question, Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, Guy, go ahead.
Yeah, she brought up that what you could bring to the meeting. I don't know how far along the plan is, but if you could provide an outline or what you have to the public as well, that'd probably be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Guy, I see your hand up. I think it's from the previous question. Anyone from the public? I don't see any hands. Okay. Well, for item number 13, if that's probably it, Amanda, thank you for that. And I look forward to hearing more in December.
Thank you.
Good luck. Item number 14, would you like the chair back, Mike?
Thanks, Brianna. I will do that. So item number 14, which is almost at the end of the agenda. Gerdwood Parks and Recreation request for GBOS resolution of support for the EDA Competitive Tourism Grant for assistance in park master planning efforts. Kyle.
Yes, as the agenda item title states, that's what we're seeking, is to write a grant to help us with park planning for Moose Meadows and Gerdwood Park master planning for those two areas. That has been identified as a need through our capital program for the parks. That's probably the next thing in line, especially for Moose Meadows and Alyeska Playing Field, is a master plan for that. To help lead us in our future development of that area, especially with our parking issues that we have there now. And then as well for the Gerdwood Park here, both areas are lacking any sort of planning document. And so it hampers us in dealing with future development things like what we always constantly hear about is pump track, dog park, those type of things. So we would seek this funding, and it would help us. It would actually have money provided through it that we could put to work with professional planners to help us get done with this planning documents. And that's it. We can talk more next month.
Okay, can you remind us again the deadline?
There is no true deadline right now, I believe, and Margaret can confirm that or tell me if I'm wrong, but we would probably like to get work on it during what is our slower time now to try to get it done in the first part of the year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Or the community? Okay, not seeing any questions. We will look forward to addressing that, talking about it next month. Committee and subcommittee reports are in the packet. If there are any specific questions, we can take them now. Okay, not seeing any. I think we can move on to adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you, Brianna.
Brianna.
Second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Guy. Thank you very much. We were 10:31, so we did need the second extension just. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.